Okay, let's start with the questions on strategy process. The first one, I hope you all can see my screen. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Both of you can see, I assume. Yeah. So the first one is strategy is formally conceived by senior management prior to implementation. Which approach to strategy is described in the following situation, right? So there are four answers: emergent, freewheeling, logical, and rational planning. So what's the answer? What's the answer? Hello.
It's emergent.
No, it's not emergent. No. This is Anuja or?
Yeah.
Okay. There's another one on the line. Who is Galaxy M10?
Gayatri.
Gayat.
Yeah, I think it's rational planning.
Yes, rational planning. So I have asked you all to unmute. Just leave it unmute till we start the lesson. Yes, it's rational planning because it's rational planning is considered a top-down approach. So the second one is Easy Limited is fast-growing internet company employing less than a dozen people, so less than 12 guys, where all of them are reporting into company's founder. So there can be finance guy, IT guy, probably maybe some developers on the internet, software engineers, stuff like that, guys like that reporting into the founder, meaning the person who has started the organization. All strategic decisions are taken by the founder, right? So the owner takes all the decisions, where appreciate he's happy to authorize strategic ideas generated by staff, listens to staff, and also authorize the ideas generated by them. Growth has been rapid, so fast growing company with significant future growth is envisaged. So fast growing, so has been growing in the short span of period, but also positioned to grow. Which type of strategic generation would not be appropriate for Easy Limited? Four answers: rational planning, freewheeling, emergent, logical incrementalism. What would be the answer?
Logical incrementalism.
Okay. Question is, which type of strategic generation would not be appropriate?
Is it rational planning?
Yes, it's rational planning. The answer is rational planning. Why the answer is rational planning is because rational planning also uses lot of data in the past, right? Lot of data in the past. But if you take logical incrementalism, it's not a answer that supports very well for this. Freewheeling means whatever that comes our way, we are okay to kind of do it. Emergent means you have a set objective. You plan to do something. While you are going, another strategy emerges, right? So therefore, emergent means you plan to go towards goal. All of a sudden, the route changes, and then you go to maybe not goal, but you stop somewhere in Ambalangudu, or maybe you cut across and you go towards Ratnapura side, right? You start with an end objective in mind, but it may go out somewhere else, right? For example, Amazon wanted to be a bookstore that sells stuff on internet, but now they are into web services, they are into delivery, they are into pharmaceuticals, they are into food, They are into almost everything that can be sold on internet, right? So that is what emergent means. Logical incrementalism means incremental process of strategy formulation, right? So I don't have 3 year 2 year span of strategic planning. I only go with, okay, let's take less 3 months. So this is easy limited kind of a startup. With the background information that they have given us, it's kind of a startup. So for a startup, what is the most not appropriate one would be the rational planning, because it does not have a trading history as such. uh, let's look at the question number 3. Match the following statements. Strategy can be a political process as an example of strategy as discourse. First one's answer is D, as strategy as discourse, right? Second one, management can view logical incrementalism as an strategy of experience, right? Because in logical incrementalism, you try something, fail at it, try it again in a different way, someone then comes up with a different idea. Hey, look here, this is how we should do it. Objective is to achieve the same thing, but method is going to be different. Let's try that. Another one, fail in that, get that absorb that experience or knowledge. Then someone will come and say, hey, look here, this is what we want as the product, let's change the material, let's change the ingredients. So it's kind of an experience. Third one, what IT system should we use? What IT system, sorry, no, that's that's in the separate question. Management can view emergent strategies as an example of strategy as variety. Management can view emergent strategies as an example of strategy as variety. I want to grow my business, I want to have different revenue streams. That is part of my strategy. I wish to sell mangoes, pineapples and apples. Emerging strategy, hey, look here, in Sri Lanka you can actually sell at this particular period of time rambutan and mangosteen. In an emergent strategy. Rational planning model is an example of strategy as design, because why is it design? Because it's a scientific process. It's part of management science. You start with analyzing your situation, right? Then you understand what are the options that you have. Then you decide what are these options, and then you choose the best ones based on your financing capability, based on your cultural capability, or based on your cultural fit. You apply strategic tests, suitability, acceptability, feasibility, and then choose not one, maybe one, or maybe in different companies with their ability, you decide, okay, I will select 1, 4 and 6 as strategies, and then you implement it. Once you implement it, you want to check how am I faring at it, at the implemented strategy. How am I performing? All my business units are performing? Is everyone contributing? Is there a problem with my culture? Should I now change it? Right? I bring in KPIs. We'll discuss in length when it comes to performance measures. I bring in KPIs. I bring in non-financial KPIs to measure the success of the strategies. Right? Stuff like brand value, brand reach, how popular I am, etc., as a brand, as a company, like that. And then I find out certain errors or loopholes or tweaks that I have to do. Then I go back and change it. After some period of time, I achieve my success. I am happy that I implemented a strategy. And then what I do, I say, okay, I want to do something else. Now I want to get into international market. Then again, I have to start my strategic process over and over again from the beginning as a scratch, or something drastically change, I will come back again and reassess what has happened to my SWOT, what has happened to my pest, etc., etc. So strategy as a design. Let's look at number 4, S Limited. S Limited is a specialty ladies wear clothing retailer. Company is now considering venturing into menswear market as well. So a ladies wear company getting into menswear, right? Place the option inside the box which is in front of the statement below. So there are 3 answers: A, B, and C. A is corporate and strategic, B is operational or functional, C is business. C is business. How do we, if you look at in the pyramid, the top layer is corporate, second layer is business, and C layer or the bottom layer is operational or functional. How do we change the mission and objectives of the organization to reflect this change? So I have been known as a company that caters to ladies wear market. Now I'm getting into menswear, but I'm not getting into kids wear. I'm getting into menswear, right? Therefore, it's a strategic decision. Therefore, it's a strategic decision. So answer is A for that. Yes, exactly. Number 2, in which geographical locations these new stores be located, right? So whether it's a it's definitely not a corporate strategy, right? Because at the beginning I have made the decision already, I'm going to be in menswear. Now it has come to the middle level managers or bottom level managers to decide and think, okay, in which geographical locations do we have to place our stores? So the answer is operational, because bottom level operations are taking place in stores. So it's an operational it's not operational, it's actually business. Because business guys or the middle level managers will decide that which place the store will be located. B guys or the operational guys will decide which staff to put in, what is the working model, how are we going to lay out our stores, whether we are going to bring in men's and women's together or whether we are going to do in separation. That is decided by B. What IT systems should we use? All these times my stock keeping units have been on women's wear, whether I need to now introduce a separate coding system, whether I have to now put a separate coding system for menswear. Obviously yes. Am I now getting into unisex clothing, where clothing can be worn by men's as well as women's, right? So that decision should be, those decisions on IT systems used to use should be taken out by operational people, So its answer is B for number 3. What is the pricing strategy that we should use? Whether we need to place our prices higher or whether we need to place our prices lower than the women's wear, or whether we have to make it on a standard level, So that again answer lies in the business level strategy, because at the store level you will not decide, okay, this item I'm going to give 20% discount. Store managers cannot make, if they have multiple stores in S Limited, a store manager in Colombo 4 cannot decide, okay, this particular pant for men's will be selling at 2000 rupees, whereas a store manager of S Limited who's in Colombo 4 will decide, no, this particular pant for men should be at 2400 rupees. No, it's not done by that. So it's done by the business guys or the middle level guys, not done by operational store managers. Number 5, very easy. Using the answer options, insert the answer into the box in front of the statement below. So you need to understand on strategic planning whether these are advantage or whether this is a disadvantage, right? Number one, identifies risk, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage when it comes to strategic planning. Whether it comes to strategic planning, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage. Can someone give it an advantage? Yes. Enforces consistency at all levels. Enforces consistency at all levels. Advantage or disadvantage?
Disadvantage.
No, that's an advantage. That's an advantage. Number three, trying to predict the future. Trying to predict the future. Advantage or disadvantage?
Advantage.
It's actually a disadvantage because we are actually trying to predict the future. It's a disadvantage, right? Impact of external factors. Impact of external factors, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage.
Advantage.
It's again a disadvantage because we decide something that we are going to do, but some force outside will come and impact our organization strategic planning, right? For example, what happened during Easter tax? Sri Lanka was nominated as Lonely Planet's best place to work, right? Lonely Planet best place to visit in 2019. Ranked number one. April, boom, there was a bomb blast that took place, completely wiped out the tourism sector, right? Travel bans were there, etc., etc., etc. Everything took on the negative side, took it on the negative side. But whereas hotels were geared up with the information available to them to serve customers better, to serve customers better. You may ask the question, look, what if something happens to the advantage of the organization, right? Agreed, only to an extent. What if you launch a product today? You launch a product today, you launch a product, you have only, we say, a physical product, specifically physical product, and you have only 1 million products on store. All of a sudden there's a sales surge and people are now wanting 3 million or 4 million products. They have already placed orders. Well, you try and see whether you can manufacture it. Well, you can't scale it up. You can't scale up your operations. And you're going to put all these customers on a waiting list, which in return take you on a negative note because you have kept them. Now you have to keep them and inform them that you will be only giving them their orders after 4 months or 5 months, and they are not willing to stay. They're not willing to stay. Again, creating a negative impact. Next one, imposes rigidity. Imposes rigidity. Rigidity means your organization is now acting in a rigid manner. Lot less flexibility is offered. Is this an advantage or a disadvantage because of strategic planning?
Disadvantage.
Disadvantage, yes. Forces decision making. Forces decision making. Forces decision making, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage.
Advantage.
Advantage, yes, because for us to be, we will always start the strategic planning up, but at a time of strategic choice generation, we will come and ask this question from the organization's key decision makers. If we want to achieve, we are currently 100 million business. If we want to be 130 million business in another 3 years, we need to capture new customers by this particular year. For us to capture these customers by this particular period, we need to start working on product development, new product innovation, concept development, etc., etc., tomorrow. So it forces you to make decisions. Forces you to make decisions. Next one, assumptions required, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage.
Advantage.
Assumptions required is a disadvantage. It's a disadvantage because you're not certain in terms of what you are making. You're not certain in terms of what you have to make, right? So assumptions will at any given time put you on a back pedal, because you're an accountant by profession. You want certain data, you want certain numericals for you to make an informed decision, because you're a person who will either prepare those information, or you're a person who will assist decision makers and put information on the table. So you would need certainty in terms of the data that you have to do your calculations. If you don't have it, you have to go with your assumptions. If you have to go with your assumptions, that is a disadvantage, because you're not certain. Clarifies aims and objectives, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage.
Advantage.
Advantage. Better control, advantage, disadvantage.
Advantage.
Advantage, very good, because organization falls back into a position where even if they have excess money at any given period, even if they have excess money, they will try and think, okay, do we need this money, do we need this funding? We have three strategic choices that we have shortlisted, we have only implemented two. Third one, we think that we have money, but what if something unexpected happens? What if that our assumptions are incorrect? What are we going to do? Are we going to go back again to a banking or a financial institution asking for money? Should we go to the shareholders and ask for a rights issue and then ask for more money? Will they be pissed? So we are doubling our level of thinking in terms of what are we going to do for this money. Also, in terms of spending, you will be extra cautious, because you know for a fact, hey, look here, this particular project is a strategic choice that we have decided and we have selected that we are going to do, right? So we need to understand, we need to, as an organization, try and give in the best return for the shareholder. If the project cost is 2 million pounds, why can't we end it up by 1.9 million pounds? You're always doubling the level of thinking of how you spend money. You're thinking of economies of scale. You're thinking of better negotiation practices, right? You're thinking of upselling your services, purely because you are now in a framework. You're now in a framework. Cost and effort. Last one, whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage. Cost and no, it's a disadvantage, purely because if it's a lengthened, or if it's a superior strategic planning experience, you might need a lot of effort to put in. It's not easy, as we spoke about in a lesson. For an organization, if you are to do it for the very first time, very tedious, very much time consuming, and lot of effort needs to be put in. Lot of resources to be deployed, needed to be deployed. Resources means you need to spend money on them. You can't ask a guy who's in finance to do it like, okay, first half of the day do your finance job, second half of the day do the strategy job or do the strategic planning part. You can't do it, you can't operate. You need to have designated people, designated person to make sure that this particular thing is working or not, who's going to be nagging all the others to understand, gather data, analyze data, get insights about the markets, try and understand what are the competitors are doing, try and understand what is the position in the market for our organization as compared with the competitors. Are there any unique selling propositions that we have? Do we have competitive advantage, or do we have competitive advantage over others, etc., etc. Even doing a sort will take at least 1 week or more than 1 week at least. So you need a lot of resources to be deployed, lot of effort, lot of muscle power needs to be deployed for this. So meaning it's not a exercise that easily can be done by all the organizations that are existing out in the outside world. So it's a disadvantage. Even for the guys who are doing it, it's actually disadvantage in terms of cost and effort, because it requires a lot of cost and effort. Even after you implement it, for you to review it and bring in controls, you need to have you need to put in lot of muscle power, resources, and your management time So it's a disadvantage because of that. Number 6, I'll go to the next page. Which of the following statements best describes the purpose of formulating strategies? To understand the organization's environment, to control the behavior of the employees, to achieve the organization's objectives, to assess the internal resources available to the organization. What's the answer? A, B, C, or D?
C.
Yes, C is the answer. To achieve the organization's objective. That's correct. Number 7, in a formal approach to strategy rational planning model, what are the 3 main stages of strategy? What are the 3 main stages of strategy? So can I know the answers? What are the 3 stages?
Strategic choice, implementation.
Yes.
And
Strategic
evaluation and
choice is
control.
one. Implementation. No, last one is wrong. Before you do the choice, before you do implement, you decide on what to implement. So that is choice. Before you do choice, what is the stage that you need to do? Always
Design.
remember it like this. On the rational planning model, not design, you need to understand, the first one is you need to understand the position where you are in a rational planning model. You need to understand what is the position you are in. So the first stage is analyzing your position, either analysis stage or position. Both are correct answers. Your analysis is the first stage. Second stage is your choice. After you analyze, you try and decide, okay, what you want to do. Then you choose. After you choosing it, you go and implement it. We'll come to question number 8. Is the following statements true or false? A top-down strategy approach develops out of the patterns of the behavior in an organization. True or false? True or false?
False.
What is it?
Yes.
False. That's correct. It's not out of the behavior. It's not out of the behavior. HESTA PSC, question number 9. HESTA PSC is in the process of formulating its strategy, and they are following rational planning approach. Currently, they are assessing pest factors. What is the stage that HESTA PSC has achieved? Whether it's choice, option generation, position, and implementation. Question number 9. What's the answer?
Choice.
Nope.
Position?
Yes, it's position. Because when you are doing the analysis stage, or you are at the position or analyzing your position of the organization only, you look at the pest factors. Remember we spoke about, we look at the internal environment as well as the external environment. So pest factors comes under the external environment, right? Number 10, which of the following statements about emergent strategy are not true? Which of the statements about emergent strategy are not true? A, final objective unclear at the beginning of the strategy process. Emergent strategies are imposed by the senior management. Elements of the strategy are developed as the strategy proceeds. Emergent strategies typically take longer to develop than top-down strategies. What's the answer?
B.
And D.
Sorry?
B. Emergent strategies are imposed by the senior management.
Yes,
A and
that's
D.
the answer. That's the answer, because it's not actually imposed by the senior management. Its answer is actually B, because final objective are unclear at the beginning of the strategy process is true. They are saying but are not true. But that is a true answer, right? Final objective is not known. Last one, which of the following are elements of the rational model? Review and control, mission and objective, cooperate, appraisal. Review and three answers are review and control, mission and objectives, cooperate, appraisal. Last one, right? What I want you guys to understand is, look at the question number 11. Look at the question number 11 and look at the question number 7 in the same page, right? Read those questions again. You might think, hey, look here, what is the difference in this question, right? This is how the examiner tests you. Look at the wordings that used in question number 7. What are the stages? Stages are 3: position, choice, and implementation. Number 11, they're asking for what? Elements. So meaning you have seen the rational planning model. You all would have seen the rational planning model. In that rational planning model, what are the elements in it, right? So these are the tricky questions that you will be tested in the exam. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop this Q&A session. Just keep in mind, it's always okay. Now, when I asked this question, some answers were correct, some answers were wrong. It's always okay if the answers go wrong, because you are not at the exam. So try and attempt even these questions over and over again, and try and see whether you can revise alongside with it. If you are not clear, that's a great way to study, specifically in an exam like SEMA, because you have certain questions on theoretical side, certain questions on practical side, right? It's not an exam like physics or whatever, right, where there are theoretical approaches only. So this applies into certain organizations like HESTA PLC, S Limited, etc., etc. So you can try and understand how the question has changed from what you have taught. The theoric part would be covering this. These are the true things of rational planning model, but the question will be coming on what are the things that are not true on rational planning model. So you need to understand, you will not have that knowledge if you don't do questions, right? If you don't do questions. So my suggestion
What is
is
the answer?
start doing
Is
these
this?
questions.
Sorry.
Sorry?
So what is the answer for 11? Is B, E, and C, is it?
You're right. You're right. That's what I said. Review and control, corporate appraisal, mission and objectives. I said that answer, right? Didn't I?
I didn't follow.
Hello?
Yeah, I didn't follow. That's why.
Okay. So, so what you need to understand is, do these questions. Even if you do it once, even if you get 10 out of 10 for the questions, just do it randomly, at least from now on, because we are on to the 6th week of the class. We'll be attempting to do the 6th lesson today. So meaning after today, we have already completed 50% of the syllabus. 50% of the syllabus. So this 10 questions won't take at least probably half an hour to kind of for you to attempt and try and see whether you have got everything right or wrong, right? So invest in that 30 minutes. If you want to study the note again, attempt these questions first, try and understand where you have gone wrong, and then refer back to the notes, because it's a kind of a great way to study. Kind of has worked for me, and also to most of my students in previous batches, right? So just a tip. With that thought, let's come to lesson number 6. With that thought, let's come to lesson number 6. So you all can see the screen, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So we are talking about forecasting and scenarios. Forecasting and scenarios. If you from this lesson, you are kind of required to do this. The area that I've highlighted: use trend analysis and system modeling to forecast potential organizational operating ecosystems. Use scenario planning and long range planning as tools in decision making. Analyze game theory approaches in strategic planning and decision making. Number 4, analyze real options as a tool for strategic analysis. So these are the 4 areas that you are required to know in terms of forecasting and scenarios. Let's look at what are the key headings that we are covering today. First one being environmental uncertainty. Because there is environmental uncertainty only, we are learning this subject. Keep that in mind. We are learning this subject purely because there is environmental uncertainty. If the environment was certain, if we know for a fact that tomorrow, if we are running a business, if we know for a fact that tomorrow there will be no price increase in crude oil, right? Or at least half of the businesses will stop doing their forecasting, right? Oil is a commodity that is used for many things. Even to run a hospital, you need oil. Even to run a bus, a motor car, even to get to work, even to get your generators working, you need oil. So if crude oil prices is not increasing, if someone can give us the assurance that crude oil prices will be stagnant for the next 6 months, we will, or next 6 years, we will stop doing this forecasting. But the fact of the matter remains that it is not so. It is not so. Things are changing, right? Things are changing. For example, if there is a sudden war that has erupted in Middle East, few countries getting together and hammering Iran, all of a sudden your oil price will go up. Oil price will go up. What is the resulting impact? What is the resulting impact? Your clothing price will go up. The clothing items that you buy from the market, or whatever that is going to come yet to come to the market, will go up. Why? Very simple. For you to wear clothes, you need cotton. Cotton gives yarn. Yarn gets converted into fabric. For that process, you need oil. Clothing gets into a factory, a garment manufacturing factory. You need oil. You need oil to run machines. You need furnace oil to run the boilers, etc., etc. Meaning your price of manufacturing will go up, thereby your retail price will go up. Very simple. Your cost of transportation will go up. Why? Because even if you take in Sri Lanka, vegetables are grown in Nuwara, Hatton, maybe onions are grown in northern province, right? Things have to come to Colombo. So price of diesel will go up. If crude oil goes up, price of diesel will go up, meaning they will increase your vegetable per kilogram vegetable price. Very simple. You have to get to work. You are going to go to work. Obviously, your salary is not going to increase. Your disposable income will go down because now you have to pump more petrol than you used to. Right? Very simple. Unless otherwise you get into an alternating mechanism. Okay, out of 5 days, 3 days I'm going to go in the park, 2 days I'm going to go in the public transport, right? Something like that. So environment's uncertainty are the environmental uncertainty is one of the primary factors that we need to do forecasting and scenarios. Number two is forecasting. Forecasting techniques we are going to talk about, and also we are going to talk about judgmental forecasts. We are also going to talk about options. We are going to talk about options, how options will impact NPVs of projects. We are also going to talk about game theory. We are going to talk about game theory. We are going to talk about scenario planning and foresight. Foresight means we are trying to see what is going to happen in the future. We are trying to be futuristic, very important for a management accountant, very important for a management accountant. With that, let's come to environmental uncertainty. Environmental uncertainty. Organizations operate within a dynamic and complex environment in the modern world, where opportunities and threats are presented every day. So opportunities and threats are presented every day. So here, if you refer to opportunities and threats, this also refers to SWOT. This also refers to SWOT, right? Opportunities and threats comes from the external environment. While organizations should focus on strengths and weaknesses which are internal, it must also scan the environment for competitors' performance and changes in the legal and regulatory framework. For example, let's look at competitors part. Right? We'll say, for example, you are a manufacturer, right, of carbonated drinks. You have a competitor called B Limited. You have another competitor called C Limited, and you're another competitor called D Limited. You being A Limited, you are looking at how my competitors are behaving, You get a rumor that C and D are going to go in for a joint venture. They are going to merge together. Is the environment being certain? No, environment is uncertain. So both of them have decided, okay, they want to be the market leader. Therefore, C and D is going to be the leader. C and D are going to be together, formed as CD Limited. They are going to be the leader. It's a matter that you need to be concerned of. After 1 week or so, what you have heard as rumor is true. C and D Limited are going to merge. So that is not a new rumor anymore. It is the truth happening. Corporate finance people are working towards it. One investment bank has come and are going to help them out. Very good. You know that you have a threat. B Limited, you see in the newspaper, has secured 300 million rupee loan from a leading bank. Should that bother you? Of course, yes. Why? You are not too sure. Why are they taking this loan for? Are they taking this loan to pay off another loan? Well, in that case, nothing to be much worried about. But in the newspaper article at the bottom of it, the CEO of B Limited is saying, we are going to use this money to invest in new manufacturing technology that will double our capacity and also triple our efficiencies. Meaning they are now going to automate their processes, meaning they are looking at significant cost improvements, doubling their capacity and tripling the efficiencies. doubling their capacity in the sense with the same machinery, so the existing machinery can give 1,000 bottles, 1,000 carbonated drinks a day. New machines will give them 2,000 bottles a day, 2,000 bottles a day, right? Earlier, with their ingredients, if they put 10 kilos of ingredients, they will get 2,000 liters of carbonated drinks. Now with the 10 kilograms of liters, wastage has gone down. This 2,000 has now become 6,000 liters. So efficiency has gone up. Efficiency has gone up. So the bottling capacity has also increased. Their liquid capacity efficiencies have also gone in, meaning not much of waste that is going to be end up in the production or manufacturing process. So these are what competitors' behaviors are now changing. What as A Limited you should do. Changes in the legal and regulatory framework. For example, after the pandemic in Sri Lanka, we have posted certain restrictions on certain food items. Certain food items. Pasta is one of them. Macaroni is one of them. Right? We have imported certain restrictions on importing of spices. So regulatory, there are certain restrictions for us to import these things. Meaning, if you are a person who has, you have a field, or you have a plantation of cinnamon, whatever that you get as cinnamon plantation from Sri Lanka, supposed to be the best, you send everything abroad. You package it and keep it, and as and when the demand comes, you send everything abroad. But people are known, people knows you as a local company. So for you to save your face, you have been importing small items and selling it in the supermarket with your brand name at a higher price, even though it's not Sri Lankan cinnamon. Now what happens? Now this restriction comes. Now you can't import, meaning out of your stock, you need to leave something for the Sri Lankan market. Otherwise, there will be a problem in terms of your name or company's brand name. Strategies that organizations make should be fit enough to face these uncertainties, right? That is a given. If you are making a strategy, those should be fit enough to face these uncertainties. Challenges these create for organizations include planning horizon to be shortened. Planning horizon to be shortened, meaning you are not in a position now to plan for months and months or years and years at least. You cannot have that luxury of having a 10-year horizon or a 15-year horizon or a 7-year horizon. Maybe it can be 1 year, 2 years, or maybe it can be drilled down to 6 months only. So your ability to plan is getting shortened. More conservative strategies, meaning you are now getting little bit of scared to go for quantum leap in terms of strategic planning. You are planning to make more conservative strategies. Okay, let's look at the next 2 months and decide. Let's look at the next 3 months and decide. You are getting into that mode. Number 3, emergent strategies over planned ones. There you go, how the emergent strategies will come in. For example, an alcoholic beverage company in Sri Lanka, a name called Rockland Ceylon Distillers, they came up with, actually they didn't make it commercial because they felt that, need of the hour is to give it to the health sector free of charge. They have the ingredients. They have imported ingredients to make alcohol with the local ingredients. What they did was they came up with hand sanitizers filled into the same bottles, but made in 1 liter, 2 liter bottles, and gave it to the government hospitals as a goodwill gesture. But in the future, once this pandemic is over, Rockland has figured out within the lockdown period, okay, I have another revenue mechanism. I have another revenue stream opened up. I have another revenue stream opened up. Let's look at prioritizing drivers of change. So if I conclude the previous point, for Rockland, the sanitizers are the emergent strategy. It was a emergent strategy. So let's look at prioritizing drivers of change. Prioritizing drivers of change. Drivers of change in any scenario will depend on context of an organization and its industry. Useful way of prioritizing drivers for change and strategic uncertainties more generally is in relation to their impact and immediacy. Immediacy means how immediate you want to get it. The impact of a strategic uncertainty is related to 3 points given under. Impact or importance of a strategic uncertainty is related to extent to which it involves trends and events that will impact the organization. Extent to which it involves trends and events that will impact the organization. Well, let's look at the example that I spoke about. A Limited. You are A Limited. B, C, D are your competitors. Now let's look at what is going to happen. C and D are merging. C and D are merging. Let's for example think all these companies, all these 4 companies have equal share in the market, 25% each. C and D are merging. They are becoming a 50% entity in the market. All of a sudden, no one is equal. You all A, B, C, D all thought, hey, look here, we are equal players in the market. Not anymore. A and B are left alone. C and D are the market leaders. Now, will C and D end up being 50%? They can even end up at 49% or 48%. 2% may drop down, or maybe even 5% go down. Doesn't matter. They will be the market leader. They now have this new company, CD Limited has now the tagline, or the proud owner of the tagline, I am the market leader. What if it happens the other way? A and B customers also think, hey, look here, this is the guy. CD is the guy who produces the best drink in the market, carbonated drink. What if you lose your market share? You become a 20% player. You're the last in the list. C and D becomes 55%. You become 20%, and B remains at 25%. Your market sentiment is such that, hey, look here, you are at the bottom. Right? Meaning now you are a management accountant or a senior finance manager in this A Limited. You tell them, look, if we want to gain market share, we need to do something different. We need to look at our competitive advantage. If we have a particular competitive advantage, we need to sharpen it. We need to understand whether what has happened to our competitive advantage, etc. Right? Now see how uncertainty has impacted. Let's look at number 2. Importance of the organization's business units, products affected by the uncertainty/change. Importance of the organization's business units, products affected by the uncertainty/change. C and D Limited, with their combined muscle power, now brings their research and development together. bringing their research and development together, meaning in another 6 months, 8 months down the line, they will have 3 or 4 variety of drinks coming in to the market, right? Now what will happen to my existing product line? What will happen to my existing product line? Will people buy it? Because now they have merged their research and development guys together, meaning there's intense competition even between them. They will come out with different drinks into the market. Lot of variety for customers to check in. Lot of varieties among school kids, teens, right? So it's having an impact. Number of units products affected by the change or scale within brackets. At the same time, if C and D individually owned an orange juice or orange carbonated drink or a carbonated drink that has the taste of cream soda, they get together and decide, okay, let's just scrap the D's one, let's just focus on C's one. Okay, there was another drink called ginger beer, let's just scrap the C's one, let's go focus on the D's one. Or let's mix it together and let's see. They are still in a position to cater to the same scale because two companies have now merged in. Let's look at the next part. Urgency of a strategic uncertainty is related to likelihood. Again, 3 points. Likelihood of a trend or event occurring. Not acting upon a low probability event, right? For example, a company can say, or a person who is watching a lot of movies will say, hey, look here, 2020 December, there's going to be world's end. Yeah, likelihood it can end. Yeah, likelihood of happening. We might not want to, right now put our resources in terms of researching about the world's end, right? So we might not act upon, because according to him also, if this is the world's end, it will be a complete end. No one will be left out. So let's not invest our time and money much into it, because we don't know whether it's going to happen or not, right? But let's look at the previous one, the example of carbonated drinks market. There's a rumor C and D is going to merge. Now, how are you going to manage if C and D is going to merge? It's a viable thought process for you to have as a limited. And after some time, it has actually happened. Then someone comes and says, hey, it was a rumor, but it actually happened. Hey, this is another rumor. There's another rumor in the market. B Limited is going to set for 300 million rupee loan, secured at very low interest rate, repayment period of 25 years. Oh, really? Can this happen? Well, we didn't put much thought into C and D merging. Let us at least put some thought into B Limited's expanded financial strength. Number 2, time frame of the trend / events. Do they need an immediate response? We will talk about this in length when we are talking about the importance and urgency matrix, which is on the next page. Number 3, comparison between time available to react to the event versus time required to develop and implement an appropriate strategy. Meaning, comparison between time available to react to the event versus time required to develop. Whether you have adequate time to react for this particular event, or whether you have time, more than 1 year of time for you to develop an appropriate strategy. C and D are merging. you don't have time now. You don't have time now because already they have made plans. Unfortunately, you were not aware of it. Unfortunately, you were not aware of it. Versus time required to develop and implement an appropriate strategy. Well, B Limited is securing a 300 million. To see they are only getting 20 million this year. Another 50 million next year. The payments are made or the funding is given based on the progress that they are making, not just 300 million as they wish. So meaning, let's just wait for the first move and then gauge and then put an effective counter-attack strategy in place, right? Meaning you will have some time to react. You will have some time to react. Let's come to page 2, importance and urgency matrix, introduced in 2010 by Ake and McLaughlin. Let's look at the first grid. The first grid that is onto the left hand side is the importance and urgency matrix. On the right hand side are the different responses that organizations should do, or different responses or the different actions that organizations should take in order to respond to this. So let's look at it. It's a two-dimensional model. In terms of 2 dimensions are strategic importance and urgency. Strategic importance and urgency. On urgency, again 2 subsections, low and high. Importance, again 2 subsections, low and high. So whatever that is urgent and whatever that is high in terms of strategic importance are the highest priority ones, or we call as major issues. Major issues, right? Let's look at what the organization should do. What the organization should do for major issues. Analyze in detail and develop a strategy to deal with the uncertainties. So analyze, not just analyze, you need to analyze in detail, and develop a strategy to deal with the uncertainties. Meaning, if your competitors are merging in, if someone, another competitor is securing a huge loan and they are planning to improve their efficiency, improve their scale of manufacturing, you are in for a soup. You are in for a soup. Meaning, those are higher priority issues for which you need to analyze in detail. Analyze in detail. C and D has already got merged. Whether you can get insightful information about what are they now going to do together. What are they now going to do together? B Limited has secured funding. What are they now going to do? And apart from that, you need to understand, what should I do to deal with this uncertainty? Let's look at the next one. Lower priority. Strategic importance is low, but urgency is high. You come to know C and D Limited. C and D Limited are looking for a guy who's experienced in finance, who has experience in supply chain, who has done certain change management projects, to come and head their merged companies operations. That means C and D's operations. It's actually No, it's advertised as operations, but he's actually going to be a change manager. He's going to be a change manager. Fancy title is given to him, Chief Transformation Officer. Chief Transformation Officer, a person who's going to be responsible for merging C and D. You get to know as a rumor, hey, look here, A Limited guy, one of the A Limited guys are going to go inside as the Chief Transformation Officer. Right? Well, in terms of your strategic, the importance in terms of one of your employees going there, in strategic terms, it's low. But in urgency terms, just because someone from your organization goes, your organization should not be dead. That is the assumption here. But if you look at it on another scale, in terms of urgency, hey, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Who is this guy from my company who's going to go there? That's the level of urgency that you need to have in terms of finding it out. So what should the company do again? Monitor and analyze. Monitor and analyze. Let's come to high priority but not as high as major issues. Strategic importance, high, urgency, low. C and D are going to invest in an ERP. Well, it's not urgent to know what type of ERP they are going to do, but definitely they should go for an ERP purely because they are now going to go into merged operations, etc., managing it together. So therefore, yeah, importance wise it's high, but urgency, well, nothing much you can do about it. And there are other issues, like for example, C and D will change their corporate structure. C and D will change their governance structure. C and D will operate organization in a functional manner, or C will operate the organization in a brand wise manner. There will be a brand leader. Brand leader will have a brand P&L and thereby manage it like that. So those are what? Those are other issues you have to just monitor. So very important tool will be tested by the examiner, because not a very popular tool like SWOT or PEST or ANSOF's matrix likewise, but this is a tool that will be tested. With that, let's come to forecasting. Forecast is a prediction of future events and their quantification for planning purposes. Forecasting is a prediction of future events and their quantification for planning purposes, right? Again, this definition easily can be tested as what is the correct statement in terms of forecasting. With these words, they can jumble up or add or subtract few words here and there and come up with multiple choices. So keep this in mind: prediction of future events and their quantification for planning purposes. So the key word to know is on forecasting is prediction. Prediction of future. In simple static conditions, past can be relatively good guide to the future, where forecasts can be made with reasonable degree of certainty. However, in dynamic conditions, this is not the case. So we are learning forecasting purely because of this particular highlighted area, which is known as dynamic conditions, where the market is dynamic, industry is dynamic, customers themselves are dynamic, changes every day or changes very frequently. Johnson suggests that the company should use single point forecast where high degree of certainty with regard, WR to RT means with regards to future, range forecasting suggesting a range of possible outcomes where there is less degree of certainty. So Johnson suggests two single point Johnson suggests two levels, two types of forecast: single points forecast and range forecasts. One of the underlying weaknesses of all forecasting methods is that they are based on assumption that future will resemble past. So a great statement, hence I'm underlining it or highlighting it. Lot of forecasting models, the greater weakness of that is we will have a scenario in the future that will have some relationship towards past. That will have some relationship towards past. For example, you take this COVID-19, it was hit in 2019 and now we are in 2020. What are we talking about? We are talking about exactly 100 years ago. In 1919 there was Spanish flu. In 1920 it was, sorry, in 1919 it was hit. 1920 it got spread around the world, and there was a first wave that came in, there was a second wave that came in, and second wave killed more people than the first wave. And we are making assumptions even for this COVID-19 with our learnings or with whatever that is there in terms of literature in 1919 and 1920, right? In 1919 and 1920. Truthfully, Sri Lankan, some of the Buddhist monks, some of them are very literate, some of them are very knowledgeable. One Buddhist monk, when I watched on YouTube, and he said, look, we might think we are humans, or he didn't say to globe, he didn't made attention to globally, he made specific attention to Sri Lanka. He said, look, we as Sri Lankans are stupid. We might think that next pandemic will come in 100 years. No, not exactly. 1919, 1920 environment was such that it got raped by the humankind. Therefore, in 100 years only another pandemic came. But right now, the environment is already being raped. We are cutting trees, we are building massive factories, we are not thinking about CO2 emissions, we are not thinking about the food that we intake. So even if there is another, the next pandemic is not just 5-6 years, it's just round the corner. 5-6 years we will have it. Don't worry, we will have another pandemic if we don't change our way. If we don't change our way, we will have very knowledgeable thoughts, Whilst everyone was talking about, hey, look here, 900 years ago, this is what happened. Again, talking about a forecasting of every 100 years, something like this happens. I'm not too sure whether it's coincidence or not. A literate person would say, no, look here, another 5-6 years, this can happen again. Because we are already screwed up as a human race. We are already screwed up in every point of our lifestyle, right? So keep that in mind based on the assumptions that future will resemble past. One of the key underlying weaknesses of all forecasting models. Let's come to forecasting and trends. Johnson suggests 3 key areas for managers to focus on. Johnson suggests 3 key areas for managers to focus on. Mega trends, large scale changes, pestle. Example, demographic trends as discussed in lesson 3. For example, 30-40 years ago, elderly population in Japan was not on the rise, but right now elderly population in the Japan is on the rise. 30-40 years ago, middle income or people aging population was India was at 30%, 40%, but right now 30%, 40% of youth are in India are youth, meaning there are certain demographic changes. It can also be a country that was known for a particular religion now getting converted into another or a different religion, right? So based on those religious beliefs, how your products and services will change. Number 2, inflection points. Moments when trends shift in direction. Upwards or downwards. Example, e-commerce driving retail sales down and online sales up. E-commerce driving online sales up and retail sales down. Retail sales are also known as brick and mortar stores. Brick and mortar stores are dipping and online payments or online sales are growing up. What are the impact that will have? Well, if you are a brick and mortar store or if you're a brand that owns, I think maybe it's popular among all around the globe. We'll say, for example, Nike or Adidas. Every country will have a shop for Nike or Adidas. Not that they will buy land and buildings in every country. They will go on lease or they will go on rent. But if every country online purchasing is going to be on the surge, why do you need a big flagship store? You can just move to a small corner shop with limited varieties on the store, and majority of items that are kept in a faraway warehouse where the rent is dirt cheap. And then you invest into logistical services like 1-day delivery, etc., or 2-day delivery or 3-day delivery, etc., right? So when your brick and mortar store sales are going to go down, you will also cut down on your rent. You will move away from flagship stores. Instead, you will invest in huge warehouses that are far away places, but will also invest in logistical solutions. You will invest into payment gateways, right? Like Visa or MasterCard or Amex. You will buy payment gateways and ask people to make payments, right? Online. You might have to look at your pricing strategy because you might now have to give a little bit of commission to payment gateway holders, right? So these are again inflection points. If you're a landlord, you will now have a little bit of trouble in terms of selling your selling your real estate or letting up of real estate, because all the big guys don't want to own big retail space. They want to have a small retail space. Number 3, weak signals. advanced signs of future trends, advanced signs of future trends, which can be helpful in identifying future inflection points. These are pieces of info which do not fit with expected patterns or trends. So weak signals are either it can be a rumor, either it can be a little bit of a hyped up conversation, right? It can be a little bit of a hyped up conversation, and they will say, hey, look here, this might change the pathway of a particular subject. But bits and pieces of information, bits and pieces of information. For example, right now in Sri Lanka, people are thinking of a possible second wave. Possible second wave. Are the signals strong? No, signals are not strong because there is no declared information about, okay, this has now spreaded across few areas in Sri Lanka, right? It can also be worked on the other side. Someone can say, hey, look here, it has spreaded, but someone is hiding the information because of the election. Again, weak signal. Again, a weak signal. Unless otherwise it's politically motivated, it's a weak signal. It's a weak signal that someone is spelling it out in order to put or in order to make government a bad boy, right? So either way you can term it, but you don't know whether it will actually turn the situation upside down. It will turn the situation upside down. With that, those are the 3 key areas managers need to focus as suggested by Johnson. Let's look at what are the forecasting techniques. Let's look at what are the forecasting techniques. Number 1, trend analysis. Number 1, trend analysis. Data from past events is collected and analyzed with a view to identify a given pattern / trend. A pattern, there's a small spelling mistake, to identify a given pattern / trend. So when you look at the trend analysis, you look at the past data, collect it and analyze it, and then try and figure out whether there is a pattern, right? For example, you are a stationery shop, you sell various stationery items, you sell books, you sell glue sticks, you sell pens, you sell exercise books or notebooks, notepads, you sell certain office stationery, pen holders, business card holders, writing pads, also you sell corporate stationery like letterheads, etc., or invoicing books, lot of things. You have a wide range. Now you also want to understand, okay, I need each and every product that I sell. I need to know each and every product that I sell. Give me a trend analysis divided by quarter by quarter. Give me a trend analysis. So quarters are derived like this: January, February, March Q1, April, May, June Q2, July, August, September Q3, October, November, December Q4, right? So you look at it, you look at the data. Okay, I sell A4 bundles. Okay, every month, irrelevant of the month, Every month I sell about 5 A4 bundles on average. Here and there few months I sell about 7 or 8. Okay, A4 bundles, not dependent upon a particular history. I look at data for last 3 years. I look at data for last 3 years. Every year there's a huge amount of sales that comes in December and January in the last 3 years for school notebooks, school glue sticks, Tipexes, again gum bottles, sellotape, ribbons. Now I want to wonder, why is this? Then someone comes and tells me, hey, look here, kids want this. Anyone who has a kid will come and buy these items in December, and also a little quantity in January. Little quantity in January, because most of the time schools are reopened on January 2nd. Highly unlikely will buy it on January 1st. So all these purchases are made in December purely because of that. Somewhere in April, there is a huge demand for New Year cards. Someone will come and say, look, Sinhalese New Year is like this, therefore we send cards. That is the demand that comes in every year, April. Corporate stationery, here and there little bit peaks, here and there little bit values, but more or less stagnant, because your corporate stationery, irrelevant to the period, you will anyway buy. So that's what you call a trend analysis. By identifying the same, organizations anticipate what may happen in the future. Based on that anticipation, organizations then develop a strategy to respond for future events. Organizations then develop a strategy to respond for future events. For example, if I want to sell products in December as school books, I need to get my stocks somewhere in October or November, and I can repack it or rearrange it and keep it ready for December. Keep it ready from first week of December, because schools are closing on November last week or maybe December first week, right? So meaning I am up and running in terms of my inventories, so that school going kids can come and purchase it from me. So my funding requirement comes into a greater level somewhere in September or October. If I'm purchasing on credit, that will be okay. I can sell the goods, take the money and settle them. If not, if I have to pay the price and secure the inventories, I need to be concerned about my financial position. Key limitation of this strategy would be, if conditions change dramatically, historical data may not be applied. If conditions change dramatically, historical data may not be applied. Historical data will not be applied for a normal stationery shop if this schooling from home is going to continue. You would not know whether demand will be high or demand will be low. I have a funny feeling demand will be low, because only in Western province or in certain provinces only, or certain schools that are in and around cities are already doing this school working from home or schooling from home or home tutoring. Other kids will not have this facility, meaning there is no demand for school books, because you can always use up your existing books. With that, let's come to page number 3 to start with data analytics and market trend analytics. Again, part of trend analysis. Data analytics, drawing insights from large data sets can also be an important aspect of forecasting. Uses data patterns from the past combined with industry and entity knowledge and can help management to anticipate the future and plan more effectively. Market trend analytics. Process of determining whether a market is growing, stagnant, or in a decline, and how fast is movement is accruing. So market trend analytics is determining whether a market is growing, stagnant, or in a decline. For example, baby products in Japan are declining because there is an aging population. A lot of young Japanese don't want to get married, or some of them who even gets married don't want to have kids. So example, you will not have a baby wear market or a very competitive baby wear market or baby products market in Japan. You can also take education in India. Middle income families are interested on investing a lot for education. They want a better life for their kids. They want most of their kids who are doing well to go settle down in UK or US or Canada, purely because they think, that will give them better opportunity than staying in India. Therefore, they are interested in investing a lot of money into education. Becomes a situation where a lot of business schools are coming up. Some of the business schools are investing more into their research. They are bringing back people who have done well, Indian born guys who have done well in US companies to come and speak for the Indian students, meaning that's a growing market. If an organization knows the market is not growing, then it's the opportunity for them to carry out R&D and new product development. So if the market is not growing, for example, you're a company, you know that market is not growing for baby products, why not come up with certain products for adults? If it's your baby diapers that you are using, why don't we enlarge it and make it an adult diaper? There are daycare centers. Well, why not convert them into elderly care centers in Japan? So look at how you can shift and change around changing demographics in Japanese market. Number 2, time series aims to identify seasonal, cyclical fluctuations and to distinguish them from long-term underlying trends. For example, we had a very interesting debate in Sri Lanka about the price of rice, or people were talking about there's a mafia that is taking place, right? So there are 2 seasons, Yala and Maha, as 2 seasons for harvesting. Some say that, look here, the mill owners will change the price accordingly, or they will offer a dirt cheap price per kilo for wet rice, and then they can kind of drive the price down. They'll buy it for about 35 to 40 kilograms and then sell it to outside as 90 rupees. They say that 40 to 50 rupees is their markup or process cost, but at the end of the day, it's the middleman who makes the money. We don't know whether this is the truth or not, but based on seasonal and cyclical fluctuations. Number 3, regression analysis. We've learned about this in depth in business mathematics, I think in foundation level. Analyzes the correlation between different variables and analyze correlationship between different variables. For example, you are a fixed income earner, you work in a particular company, you get 100,000 as your salary, and you have a particular lifestyle that you have got accustomed to. You are happy, you have a particular loan to pay your vehicle, you have another particular loan to finance your house or apartment, you are happy and you live happy, you have a kind of a moderate social life, you are happy. All of a sudden COVID-19 comes and hits you, and then salary reduction is now taking place. Salary reduction is now taking place. Now when that salary reduction is taking place, there is almost a 20% cut in terms of your salary. Now your salary has gone down to 80,000. There are fixed payment in terms of your vehicle. There are fixed payments in terms of your housing loan or apartment loan. You anyway have to oblige those payments. You try and see to the bank, hey, look here, whether I can get some kind of a help out of this. Probably bank will come back and tell you, hey, look here, we can kind of increase the tenor of the loan, and then we can kind of refinance it. You see, okay, not immediately this position will return to normalcy. Therefore, let me cut down in terms of my food and beverage cost. Let us not go out and eat. Let us not go out and eat. Let us not buy the fancy items. And when you as an individual will make a decision, look here, I'm not going to spend on this birthday, I'm not going to do on this birthday, I'm not going to go visit my friends, I'm not going to go hit the bar. These are lifestyle changes. Now, what is the correlationship? Your disposable income changes and your certain decisions in terms of going to a public bar, going to a public pub changes. Spending on your social life drops. Spending on your social life drops. Regression analysis can be useful for forecasting the impact that a change in one variable is likely to have another relationship between price and its demand. It is important to remember that correlation is not causation. Simply because two variables are related does not necessarily mean one causes the other. One causes the other. So meaning it needs to be related. It needs to be related, right? If X changes, it needs to have an impact on Y. It needs to have an impact on Y. For example, if you are a family, your salary is hit, your salary has cut down, you have 2 kids, and 2 kids are still drinking milk. They are maybe probably kids who are less than 3 years or 4 years. You give them baby formula. No matter what happens to your income, you make sure that the first thing that you buy going into a supermarket would be baby formula, because you don't want, because those two are not ready to even eat. So you will make sure that their stocks are adequately kept inside the house, right? So irrelevant to your decision to cut down on food and beverages, in money spent on baby formula will not go down. You will not increase more water, or you will not put less formula and more water and make the kid drink a diluted milk. You will not do that, right? So just because some of it has impact, some of it has impact, it doesn't mean everything will have an impact. Everything will have an impact. But going to a bar, spending on a social life will have a direct impact because that is part of your entertainment costs. Next one, number 4, econometrics. Econometrics studies the interrelationships between economic variables, interest rates, tax rates, household income. Studies past relationship between variables and then try to forecast how changes in some variables will affect others, So this specifically, under econometrics, this specifically studies the interrelationships between interest rates, tax rates, and household income. If interest rates are going to go up in the market, if the borrowing rates are going to go up, probably your saving rates are also going to go up. That's what happens in the market. If you are a person, if you are a family, we'll say, for example, you're a guy with 40 years of age, has 2 kids or 3 kids. You never spent on a land because you got a land for your dowry. You also got money from your parents when you are getting married. You spent those money together with the land that you got under your spouse's name. You build a house and you have just a small amount of 5 million rupees as a housing loan, and that has already been paid off. So at the 40 years of age, you don't have loans that you need to pay. Vehicle, you don't need a vehicle because you do a good job. Company is maintaining your vehicle, and that's a company maintained vehicle. You get for last 3-4 years, you have got kind of good bonuses. You have kept that money aside. You have not wasted that money on anything stupid. You have kept that money on a side. Government decides, okay, borrowing rates are going to go up. You have that money, we'll say 2 million rupees. You know for a fact FD rates will also go up now. All of a sudden, you put that into an FD and earn an interest income on a periodic basis. If tax rates on employment income is also going to go up, it will have a die effect because you are at 40 years of age, you are in a middle income or middle manager level, or maybe a senior manager level in an organization. You're taxed at a higher rate. Earlier you were taxed at 20%. Government has increased it to 24%. Now your disposable income will go down. So the study of these interrelationships between these economic variables are called econometrics. Leading indicators are indicators that change before market demand changes. So under econometrics, there's an item called leading indicators. So meaning of leading indicators are indicators that change before market demand changes. Meaning whatever that is visible in the market, before it change, there are certain indicators that will change, right? For example, if we know for a fact government is going to print money, you need to know whether you like it or not. Cost of goods is going to go on an increasing curve. If government is going to print more money and put it out in the market, your output doesn't increase. If your output is not increasing, the price per unit is going to be higher than releasing those money, printed money into the market. So if a particular price of a good is 10 rupees, after releasing these funds, it's going to be 15 rupees, 13 rupees, or something higher than 10 rupees. So printing money would be a leading indicator. So very straightforward things. In terms of this, we are coming to system modeling. Organizations can use complex computer programs to try to model aspects of the external environment and to capture the complex interactions between various economic and non-economic drivers in the organization's environment. Let's read that again. Organizations can use complex computer programs. So system modeling means organizations are using complex computer programs to try to model aspects of the external environment. Let's highlight that again. Aspects of the external environment, and to capture complex interactions between various economic and non-economic drivers in the organization's environment. For example, if I am a company that manufacture cinnamon powder and sell it locally, I am not exporting it to another country or multiple countries. I'm only selling it locally. All the raw material or primary raw material would be cinnamon sticks. I am sourcing cinnamon sticks from Sri Lanka itself. Processing is done within my factory. Packaging is done within my factory. Polythene that is used for packaging are manufactured in Sri Lanka. Again, material is also made from Sri Lankan material. Therefore, I am not dependent on imports. There is a problem about certain regulations relating to Colombo port. And raw materials are now not coming. Am I impacted? I am not impacted because it's an inland operation that I have. I have a pure inland operation or an internal operation. I'm not bothered about what is happening that has certain impact for exports or port related activities. So need to understand, if it's system modeling, means it has to be on external environments, aspects of external environment, and interactions between various economic and non-economic drivers in the organization's environment. Now, in the cinnamon example, it's not part, whatever that is, they are happening in the port, surcharges that other insurance companies or ship companies are imposing on the port are not in my environment. Why? Because I don't have port operations. But if I do have port operations, then it's a factor that I need to consider. Many large accounting packages include forecasting and analytical facilities which can provide insights that help management to make better decisions and improve performance. One key challenge in modeling exercise comes from identifying all the variables which need to be included and understand how they relate to one another. Very important line, the last statement. Key challenge in modeling any exercise comes from identifying all the variables. So you need to understand, in a system modeling exercise, you need to understand all the variables that has to be included, and also needs to understand how they relate to one another, If they are not related, you don't have to consider in system modeling. It may impact, some of the variables will impact, but it will impact after your activity level comes to a particular desired level. For example, something like this, you're modeling something on computer for your raw material purchase price, and you're planning to bring down the cost of raw materials. Normally you purchase a monthly requirement. Every month you purchase monthly requirement, which is, for example, a particular ingredient, 1000 kilos. 1000 kilos of a particular ingredient is actually purchased, and variable is what is the price in the market. So you analyze and see what are the prices that are available in the market, and then you source from you have a strategic deal with one of the suppliers, and you tell them, hey, look here, I am going to buy only from you this particular ingredient for this particular year, entire 12 months. If you can give me this particular raw material at this price, supplier agrees, and it is actually one pound less than the current market price. But you have further negotiations and tell, every month I'm going to buy 1000 kilograms, so my total buy would be 12,000 kilograms. Can you please come down further? And the supplier says, I don't think I can come down further because I have already given you 1 pound discount. But every month, if you purchase more than 2000, or at any given instance, if you can purchase more than 2000 kilos, I will reduce another pound. So you look at the period that you can use this particular raw material, whether there's a shelf life for this particular raw material. We'll say this particular raw material has more than 1 year shelf life. You try and place the order for 2001 kilos within January, and then get yourself available for that additional 1 pound discount. Now, does your actual purchasing exceeds more than 12,000? No, it's just that you buy only in 6 instances. Therefore, you are coming into a lower price per cost of raw materials. Meaning, if you're building up a modeling exercise, if your starting point was, okay, bring down the price by whatever the percentage, you look at your data, you are buying from various different suppliers, and then you select a couple of suppliers and then choose one guy and say, I'm going to only buy from you 12,000 kilos. You have to give me at this particular price, which is less than 1 pound in the market. Agrees to that. After some time, you go and do another negotiation with him. If can you come down further? And then he says, if you buy more than 2,000, I will reduce it further one. Or if you buy 2,000, I will reduce it further by additional 1 pound. So same 12,000 kilograms that you used or that you purchased now comes at 2 pounds less per kilo. 2 pounds less per kilo, meaning these are the interactions that you can build with the price of raw material and the actual price that you have negotiated and bought for. So these interactions, or these variables and different different levels of how it impacts the organization needs to be factored in when you are doing a system modeling. Do not worry, you need to know this part as a theory. You will not be asked to do a complex modeling under E3 subject. So, but these things, please be aware that system modeling as a method under forecasting and scenarios are there in the syllabus area, and system modeling is something that you will do when you are a accountant or when you are a management accountant, because you need to predict, or this is a method in terms of predicting, okay, how can we, for this given example, how can we reduce our raw material prices or raw material costs. With that thought, we'll come to judgmental and intuitive forecast. Judgmental and intuitive forecast. So judgmental means by of your head you are being judgmental. You will not have data, or you will not have data in the sense validated data for you to come and say, okay, this will be the forecast, but you will have half baked data or information to make a decision. But you can't make a half baked decision. You have to make either, the decisions are, most of the time it's either yes or no, or black or white, meaning you have to say either black or either white, or you have to say let's go or let's not go, let's export, let's not export, let's expand, let's not expand, let's acquire that competitor, let's not acquire that competitor, let's go for a strategic alliance, let's not go for a strategic alliance. Likewise, it has to be a clear black and white answer that you need to give in terms of a decision. So in order to support your decision, because decisions are directional, you give a decision, and then you give a decision purely because of two things: either you want some people in your organization to act upon it, or sometimes you give a decision to tell people, look, we were planning to do this, but now we are not going to do it, or stop acting, or to stop act upon it, right? That is why decisions are directional, right? But you can't make a directional decision because you don't have information fully. You don't have information fully. You have half baked information. You have bits and pieces of information here and there. Some are rumors, some are data, some are just on newspapers, and it is not validated by anyone. So in that case, you seek the help of judgmental, intuitive forecast, so that you can still make the decision, but with a level of not just a rash decision. It's again a clearly a thought through decision. Let's look at the types of forecasts that comes under judgmental and intuitive. First one being jury forecast. Panel of experts and or executives prepare forecasts, and a consensus forecast emerges from the team. So panel of experts and or executives prepare forecasts, and a consensus forecast emerges from the team. Now, meaning, like in court of law or in the judiciary system, we have a council of jury. where few guys or few senior lawyers get together and provide or shed professional light into a particular case. Similarly, in this manner, if you don't have a required data, or you have data that is half baked, you need to have level of experts or panel of experts to come and say, okay, this is what is going to happen, and they will come at a consensus, meaning they will agree upon what they are going to come out as the final decision. Even in a judiciary system, in the jury, you go by the highest vote. You have a 7-member jury sitting. If more than 5 agrees, then it's taken as a decision. Okay, this is something that we can pass on. The verdict can be passed on if it's in a civil court case. In a corporate establishment, panel of experts or executives can prepare personalized or can prepare their individual forecast, and also come and discuss within themselves, can come and discuss within themselves. There will be time that is allocated for them to do it, and then they will tweak the numbers. They will give different assumptions. They will come up with different scenarios and fine tune the number, and then they will say, look, this is the forecast that we can come up with, and all of us abide by it. That is a jury forecast. That is called a jury forecast. Think tank, number 2 or B is think tank. Group of experts are encouraged in a relatively unstructured atmosphere. So the line to underline is unstructured atmosphere, to speculate about future development in a particular area, and to identify possible courses of action. Group of experts again. For example, you have a company, or we'll come to the same example as carbonated drinks market. You are A Limited, you have A, B, C, D. You know for a fact now it is not a room anymore. C and D has emerged and has formed the company CD Limited. B is planning to expand, secured the funding. They are going to do something. What are you going to do as A Limited? So you are asking group of experts to come and talk about it. You're the CEO of A Limited. You ask, or you're the CFO of A Limited. You ask, hey CEO, can you please come on this particular day? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the future after these changes are going to take place. Let's bring our chief marketing officer or the marketing director to come and speak on this event. It's a think tank. Can we also get our former CEO? To come and talk and give us some opinion? Can we also get a former finance director to come and talk about it? Can we get an industry analyst from a particular research company about the consumer behaviors in the particular country that we are operating, right? Can we also get an advertising guy who is doing advertising for C and D Limited individually in the past? Can we also get a person from an audit firm who does, out of A, B, C, D, who does at least 3 companies in terms of audits? Can we ask them some opinions? So that is called a think tank. A relatively unstructured atmosphere is the key feature. It's unstructured. C is Delphi method. C is Delphi methods. Group of experts are encouraged in a relatively unstructured atmosphere to speculate about future. Sorry, Delphi method. I was talking about think tank. Right? Delphi method experts respond to a detailed questionnaire anonymously, giving their opinions and insights on a particular trend and how it may develop. Now, the key feature here is in a jury forecast, people come together and prepare a finalized plan. In a think tank, people know who are the members of the think tank. They come and express their opinions, thoughts, ideas freely, and also learn from others' thoughts, ideas, information freely. Situation is such that someone can say, okay, this is what is going to happen. Another one can build up upon that discussion point, right? So meaning everyone knows everyone in jury forecast or think tank, but in Delphi you don't know anyone. Look at the next one, next paragraph. Questionnaires are filled independently and does not meet one another in person to avoid group pressure. So I have seen MCQs coming in. One key feature in Delphi method is that group pressure is not available or not visible, right? Group pressure is not visible, meaning you are not bound by what others are saying. You're not bound by what others are saying. Initial results are summarized and the summary is returned to the experts, who are then asked to respond again. Again means again anonymously. I'm highlighting it again. So even after they send their questionnaires, even after they respond, you will not see them again, or you will not know who are the participants in the Delphi method. The process is repeated till the consensus is achieved. Till such time everyone agrees on one thing, we will repeat the process. Now, if you may ask the question, why do at the first instance the questionnaires are filled independently? After questionnaires are submitted, why don't the people meet and discuss it? Well, the key problem in that case is, we'll say there are 10 individuals who are doing the questionnaire. There are 2 individuals who think alike, who think exactly the same way. 10 things or 8 things out of 10 things they think together, and happens to be that these 2 guys are holding up to very powerful positions within the organization. Rest of the 8 guys, when they meet them, oh, question number 7, we said it's false, these 2 says true. If these 2 say true, it has to be true. All rest of the other guys also say yes, we missed out on certain information, but those 2 said was the correct answer. Again, group pressure. So therefore you will not make individuals to meet until such time the consensus is achieved. Let's look at options, real options. options theory can be used in strategic decision making in the following ways. Again, guys, please make a note that the examiner will not test complex financial questions in this, but it will be purely for your knowledge. Only thing, it will be tested via MCQ theoretical knowledge. Meaning probably they can ask what is not a option in the options theory. Give 2 answers from here. Out of these 3 options, give 2 from here and 2 other incorrect ones, where you have to select the incorrect ones. Like that, you will not be asked to do complex calculations and come up with an answer. Let's look at number 1. Option to make follow-on investments. Initial investment in a project may itself yield a negative NPV. Initial investment in a project may itself yield a negative NPV, but give rise to further positive opportunities. The follow-on investments should therefore be factored into the initial investments decision. Meaning, initial investment in a project will most probably have a negative NPV. So if you look at an individual project, that will have a negative NPV. For example, you are a company that is resident in Sri Lanka, right? You are a company that is resident in Sri Lanka. You provide a particular raw material for a large-scale multinational company for their manufacturing process. You provide a particular raw material. Now, when you are doing business with them, this particular multinational guy comes and says, hey, look here, I have a similar operation in Malaysia and Indonesia. Can you please come and invest there? And you tell, look, I don't know. I have never done business in Malaysia or Indonesia, but I can do something like this. I can increase my scale and provide you the additional units from there. But he says, no, you should be physically present because we have a 24/7 operation there. We need you to be there. We need your management input and we need you there. So you decide, okay, if this is an opportunity to increase my business, why not go there? So you venture into Malaysia and Indonesia. At the initial stage, your NPV is negative. And you tell them, hey, look here, I am not having a positive outflow from my project. They will tell, look here, over a period of time, we will increase your capacity within the Malaysian operation and the Indonesian operation. Then you tell him, look here, in order to sustain my operation and my business, can you increase my Sri Lankan business portion. You buy raw material from me, I understand, thank you and appreciate it, but also you also buy a percentage of raw material, the same thing that I give you from company X and also company Y. So can you just remove some stake in from both those guys and give it to me, so that I have a positive outflow to make sure that my Malaysian and Indonesian operations are underway and I will not be crunching for cash. Multinational agrees, meaning I have an option to make follow-on investments. After some time, you get to know some of the projects, some of the products in Indonesia has some of the products that are manufactured in Indonesia are not even manufactured in Sri Lanka. And some of these raw materials to this multinational, they require some raw materials coming from Sri Lanka, maybe some agricultural raw materials. You tell the multinational, why can't I source it for you? Why can't I source it for you? Well, that's again a follow-up investment. Again, a follow-up investment. Number two, option to abandon. Option to abandon, where initial investment is high and is followed up by uncertain revenue streams. The option to abandon later may be valuable. This may occur where market acceptance of a new product or service is uncertain. Option to abandon. Same multinational comes and tells you, set up a facility in Malaysia. We will partner with you. You put 50% to that investment. We will put 50% to that investment. You put in a clause. I will put 50% and my 50% is committed. But I want you to know this. Even in Sri Lanka, I am not your main supplier. Company X is your main supplier. So if I go there and still if you don't buy from me the raw material, this particular project will not be viable. Therefore, I will put my 50% in 3 stages. First one, within the first 6 months. Second one, or first 20% I will put within the first 6 months. Second 20% or second 10% I will put within the next 6 months. Balance 20% I will put within the last 6 months. But at the end of the 13th month or 12th month, if I am not getting X amount of units as orders from your business, from your multinational, I will abandon the last payment. Right? So I have now an option to abandon the project. Meaning the moment if it actually happens, the benefit that the local company has is, the moment you put a clause like that, you are, even though whether it happens or not, you are making that multinational company, you are actually getting hold of that multinational company from its throat. For it to be successful, you have to invest and you have to give me orders. Two things that are happening. You need to invest, at the same time you need to give me orders to make this a viable business operation. Right? Number two, if you are not giving me enough orders, or if you are giving me orders and you are cutting the prices for making it a negative cash outflow project for me, last 20 million will not come your way, sir. meaning you are holding the MNC by its throat. If the project goes south, you have an option, you have a way out. You have a way out. Number 3, option to wait. Option to wait. Choosing to wait before investing may allow for better info to become available. In this instance, the benefit of better decision making needs to be weighed against the early cash flows foregone while waiting to invest. For example, you are again invited by an MNC to come in for a joint venture operation to set up in Indonesia. You say, I will come, no problem, I will come. But first 50 million should come from you. If first 50 million comes from you, now project life cycle would be, capital life cycle would be 2 years. First 50 million should come from you. At the end of the 12th month or beginning of the 13th month, I will start infusing my capital into the project. Meaning you now are in a better controlling position. You are in a better controlling position because you are asking them, MNC guys, you are anyway there in Malaysia, or you are anyway there in Singapore or Indonesia, you put the first amount of money. Let's start the project. I'll get involved in monitoring. Let's start the project. Let's get it rolling. Technical know-how, product know-how in terms of my raw material, I will give in. I will give in. But my 50 million will come from the beginning of the 13th month. So again, it's going to be an option to wait. It's going to be an option to wait. In each of these instances, the option can be valued via Black and Scholes model. Black and Scholes model. But this is not tested in the exam. It's not tested in the exam. There's a red color highlighted, red color outlined dialog box that gives a little bit of history about Black-Scholes model. At your free time, please read it. Again, this is not tested. Resulting option value can be added to the initial NPV of the project, allowing a more informed decision to be made. Generally, the options are more valuable if the duration is longer and the level of uncertainty is higher. Level of uncertainty is higher. So, meaning, let's highlight that area. Let's highlight that area. Generally, the options are more valuable if the duration is longer and the level of uncertainty is higher. Options are more valuable if the duration is longer and the level of uncertainty is higher. So with that, we are concluding the real options or the options theory. We are getting into game theory. We are getting into game theory. I want to, I will write something on the chat line. Please try and watch this movie. It's I think acted by Russell Crowe, a movie called A Beautiful Mind. So this actually talks about an economic theory called Nash equilibrium. Nash equilibrium, where an economist of John Nash, I think, John Nash from Princeton University, Nash John Nash from Princeton University. There is a movie. I'll try and see whether we can watch this on YouTube. Okay, this is a clip. Give me a minute. I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see this?
Yeah.
Can you all see this?
Yeah.
Okay, can both of you see this? All right. Okay, I'm going to put it on enlarged screen. Just try and read, just try and understand the conversation. Just try and understand the conversation. And please watch this movie. Please watch this movie, because this actually tells about equilibrium, Nash equilibrium and game theory.
No sound.
You can't hear the sound, or?
No, no.
Can't hear you.
1 minute. It's still the same.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I don't think I can get it across. I'll share this on the WhatsApp group chat. Please watch this, right? And this,
Yeah.
even this one is in terms of science of decision making. Again, a great video to watch. Again, a great video to watch. Okay. So game theory is kind of something in terms of how you negotiate things with, when it comes to either a political deal, or either when it comes to a trade deal, something like that. So meaning you are anticipating certain moves by the person whom you're going to discuss or negotiate it with, and then thereby making a viable movement in terms of your conversation or negotiation, in order to get the best possible outcome from that situation, right? Game theory has been widely used in trade deals, in negotiations. Certain terrorist groups have taken people on hostage, and certain military organizations have, or military institutions State military institutions have mastered these negotiation skills based on game theory, so that the best outcome is derived. So let's look at what game theory is. Game-based approaches to strategy argue that in addition to an organization's own resources and general environment, its competitor reactions should be factored into strategic decision making, should be factored into strategic decision making. Now you might ask the question, why game theory is coming into this syllabus? Why game theory is coming into this syllabus? Keep in mind, why does it come to this syllabus? Let's look at the lesson number 1. We are talking about a rational planning model. We are talking about a rational planning model. We are talking about emergent strategies. We are talking about freewheeling opportunism. We are talking about logical incrementalism, different alternative approaches for strategic planning. Irrespective to the company that you are in, you will adopt different options in terms of strategic planning. Now, you are the management accountant or the senior finance manager, or you can have a role like chief strategy officer or head of strategy or something like that in your organization, and then now you are moving towards how to carve out a strategy, trying to understand what is my competitive advantage, how am I going to upsell. You try to figure out what are the external environmental factors that are available, what is the pestle analysis is going to look like, favorable, unfavorable, all the 6 elements in the pestle is unfavorable, or 3 of them are favorable, 3 of them are unfavorable, most important ones are unfavorable. Then you look at your strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Internally, these are my strengths, how can I sustain those strengths? Weaknesses, how can I convert it? How can I not let my weaknesses bite me into a position that is given to me from the market? What are my threats? Will my weaknesses be a bite, or will my weaknesses be a bait to the threats that is thrown to me by the external market? What are the opportunities? How can I capitalize on my strengths and win the market using those strengths? Likewise, you now you decide, okay, these are my strategic choices and these are the things that I'm going to implement. Now when you are implementing it, you can't be in a cushion chair and thinking, okay, I have implemented this, I have on the market, job is done. No, business is kind of evolving, not just kind of evolving, it is evolving every day, everywhere, every minute. The business landscape is changing. When it's changing, your competitor is also going to change. Your competitor for years has been your competitor, but you have become the market leader. Can you just sit back, wait and relax? No, you can't, because at any given point you are planning on doing certain things, all of a sudden your competitor comes out of nowhere and tries to do something completely opposite, where it eats out your market share. Now what are you going to do? You are a final level or a strategic level SEMA student who's going to be a management accountant or a finance manager. In a situation where your competitor reacts in a particular way, then what are your strategies to negate that position that the competitor is trying to achieve? That is why game theory is coming into the syllabus. Because no point learning about game theory after being qualified as a SEMA accountant. No point. You need to know, if you plan, you do strategic planning and you decide on certain things, okay, these are the things that I'm going to do in order to upsell my position, in order to be the market leader, in order to be this, in order to be that. I'm investing in branding, so much and so forth, and then I review it, I monitor it, I closely implement it. all of a sudden competitor will also come and change, competitor can also come and change his behavior, that was not prevalent according to the past behaviors that he has shown. Or couple of competitors, like in the carbonic drinks market, B is changing, C and D are merging. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So in that case, this is what is important. How can I know what are the moves of my competitor? Based on that, how can I react to it? How can I react to it? In that situation, how can I continue to be the market leader or sustain my position? That's the reason why game theory is there in the syllabus. So let's look at it. Game-based approaches to strategy argue that in addition to an organization's own success, own resources and general environment, its competitive reaction should be factored into strategic decision making. Meaning, game theory illustrates the problem of interdependent decision making which organization faces. So I'm going to highlight this: interdependent decision making. Interdependent decision making. Interdependent decision making. 1 minute. Framework for shaping optimal decision making among interdependent and competing entities. This is the definition of game theory. The key to game theory is that the benefits one entity derives from a strategy are dependent on the strategy implemented by other entity. Meaning, if I am going to get a benefit from a particular strategy, and if I have factored into what my competitor is going to do, it is dependent on the strategy that was already implemented by the other entity. Gauging competitors' likely reaction to a strategy should increase an organization's ability to choose a strategy that will be successful. Gauging competitors' likely reaction to a strategy should increase an organization's ability to choose a strategy that will be successful. So I am not completely sure what my competitor is going to do, but I am gauging a likely reaction to a strategy, right? Likely reaction to a strategy, and therefore I will implement a strategy that is more successful to me internally. Let's look at game theory and strategic choices. When implementing a strategy, the reaction of industry rivals should be simulated to determine which of the following outcome is likely to happen. We win, competitors lose. Adopt this strategy. We lose, competitors win. Avoid this strategy. We lose, competitors lose. Avoid this strategy, right? So assumptions in game theory are competitors do not collude with each other, collude with each other. Competitors do not have knowledge of competitor strategies, meaning they are completely left in the dark. So I will stop it from here. Let's get into the further reading of PDF that I have shared. I'm going to share the screen now with that on game theory. Let's look at it from an example point of view. a key as game theoretic approaches to strategic planning. You all can see the screen, I assume. Can see the screen, right? Okay.
Yeah.
A key aspect of strategic planning is anticipating the actions of competitors and acting accordingly. So I'm going to highlight that: anticipating the actions of competitors and acting accordingly. For example, if competitor is trying to if the competitor is trying to expand, I will also have a likely reaction to its expansion, like that. Game theory has been used to great effect in this matter. Game theory is a theoretical framework for conceiving social situations among competing players. In some respects, game theory is the science of strategy. In some respects, right? Or at least the optimal decision making of independent and competing actors in a strategic setting. The key pioneers of game theory were mathematicians John von Neumann and John Nash, as well as economist Oscar Morgenstern. So those are the people who have kind of developed this. John Nash is the guy who have kind of started researching on it, and other two kind of contributed. It is assumed players within the game are rational. So assumed that players within the game are rational and strive for maximize their payoffs, meaning we will not have socialist people like JVP guys here. We will not look at the public happiness or public well-being. I will purely look at my payoff, or company's payoff. In reality, that's what most of the time happens. Let's look at prisoner's dilemma. So two prisoners have got caught, but two prisoners have got caught under suspicion. Maybe two of them have done an illegal activity, and police have chased them and caught them, right? And police wants to know the truth. Right? Police wants to know the truth. Prisoner A, I'm talking about case A. In case A, prisoner 1 remains silent. So prisoner 1 does not say anything, that whether I committed or whether we both together committed, etc., etc. He is not saying anything. Therefore, the police guys keep him aside and takes prisoner 2. Prisoner 2 confesses everything. This is the way how we planned it. This is the way that we communicated about this, and this is the method that we kind of used to do this particular criminal activity. So since he said the truth, and they ask him whether you did it alone, and he says, no, I didn't do it alone, I did it with prisoner 1. Because of that, because now the case is solved, prisoner 2, unless otherwise, no, please don't think that this is a murder kind of an activity. This is not a murder type of an activity, a criminal activity, but not a murder type, right? Where a person's life has not been harmed. Because prisoner A or prisoner 1 did not say the truth, he is sentenced for 20 years. Prisoner B or prisoner 2, since he said the truth, he is released immediately. Now, why prisoner 2 is released? Because he said the truth, while prisoner 1 became the bad boy in the eyes of police, and he didn't cooperate with the police. When it comes to case B, both parties decide we are going to be silent. We will not say anything about this criminal activity, and in fact we will say we don't know what happened, right? In that case, both these people If the police cannot uncover this, both these people will get 1 year each. Under scenario C, both the people are confessing, they have done a criminal activity and they have done it together. Therefore, both the people will be given 5 years prison sentence. So let's look at what are the basics of game theory. The focus of game theory is the game, which serves as a model of an interactive situation among rational players. Key to game theory is that one player's payoff is contingent on the strategy implemented by the other player. The game identifies the player's identities, preferences, and available strategies, and how these strategies affect the outcome. Depending on the model, various other requirements or assumptions may be necessary. Game theory has a wide range of applications, including psychology, evolutionary biology, war, politics, economics, and business. Despite its many advances, game theory is still a young and developing science. So these are the elements of the game theory. Game, any set of circumstances that has resulted dependent on the actions of two or more decision makers, meaning players. Strategic players are strategic decision makers within the context of the game. So in the prisoner scene, prisoner 1, prisoner 2 are the players, not their spouses or girlfriends or parents or whatever. Meaning they are inside the prison. What they say is purely dependent upon what they want to say and not by what are which party is connected to them, which party is related to them, etc. Strategy. Complete plan of action a player will take given the set of circumstances that might arise within the game. So prisoner 2 decided in case 1, in the case A, in the first case, that I'm going to tell the truth when other one is not telling the truth. So he decided I will tell the truth. So therefore he was released immediately. But in scenario B and C, he decided to, in scenario B, he decided to remain silent and therefore got 1 year. Scenario C, he confessed. Unfortunately, prisoner A has also confessed. Therefore, both of them were given 5 years. Payoff, the payout a player receives from arriving at a particular outcome. Payout can be in any quantifiable form from dollars to utility, right? So payoff can be either in monetary terms or in utility terms, or like prison sentence for 5 years, like that. Information set, the information available at a given point in the game. Term information set is most usually applied when the game has a sequential component. For example, in scenario A, prisoner 1 is the first one who gets the questioning. And he doesn't know, and he tells that he didn't do it. Prisoner B goes in and says, and he doesn't know what prisoner A has said, but he goes and says, yes, I'm the one who did it. In fact, I didn't do it alone, I did it with him, right? So that's naturally he has decided I'm going to tell the truth. Irrelevant to the payoff, he's saying I'm going to tell the truth. But in a situation where the first prisoner goes in and he does not confess, he says that I do not know or remain silent, and second prisoner gets to know, hey, look here, he didn't tell anything. If a jail guard comes and says, he's saying he didn't do it, but we know that both of you did it. If you say your prison term can get shortened. You can easily go in and say, look, you have immediate new information set coming from the jail guard. You go and say, hey, look here, I'm the one who did it. In fact, I didn't do it alone, I did it with him. Right? So that is information set can change at different levels. In case B, both were asked the question, or both the questioning from the two people were done together, and both decided, okay, we are not going to say anything. In case C, both the people have been questioned separately, but when the first one was questioned, he was told, prisoner 2 said the same thing. Prisoner 2 confessed, he agreed that both of you all did it. So tell the truth, just for record statement matters, we are just writing it. So he would have thought, hey, look here, prisoner 2 has already told, why should I not tell? I will also tell the truth. Jail guards can also do the same thing to prisoner 2, saying, prisoner 1, look at the statement he has already given. What do you want to say? Yes, sir, I also confess, I also did it. I was contributing to it, to this criminal act. Therefore, jail guards will decide, or the court of law will decide, they should get 5 years prison sentence. Equilibrium, point in a game where both players have made their decisions and an outcome is reached. Where both players have, now in this case, two players would not know when it comes to questioning by the jail guards, but when it comes to a trade negotiation, or when it comes to a business negotiation, or when it comes to a situation where you need to kind of rescue hostages from a military group, then or a terrorist group, then it becomes a situation where you will face to face deal with that other party. And then decide, okay, what is the best possible action that you can take. So let's look at the last part. One key implication of this theory is that firms may benefit from cooperating and negotiating. I'm going to highlight that. Firms may benefit. So it does not say firms will for sure benefit, but it says firms may benefit with others in the search for optimal solutions, rather than simply working alone and competing with all the players in the market. In the carbonated, remember the carbonated drinks market. I'll come to that. In order to create win-win scenario, firms are likely to have to compromise and cooperate rather than always seeking to compete with each other. In this context, networks and cooperation being preferable to constant competition. So what is more preferred is networking and cooperation. Game theory can help explain the reasoning behind strategic alliances. Look for this matter. The example that I brought in the first 2 hours, A, B, C, D are there in the market with equal market share, 25% each, and those 4 are the only players that are there in the market. Now, every year, your market positioning has been like this. First year, A, B, C, D, 25% each. Second year, 23%, 25% B, 23% A, B 25%, C 27%, D 25%. Third year, A 27%, B 27%, C and D rest 23% each. Now C and D have got sick and tired of it. They said, hey, look here, we are just been in this business for so long, but there is no clear winner in the market. If we want to exploit this market, let's merge together. rather than competing with 3 individual guys. If you take C, you have to compete with if you are, we'll say, if you are C, you have to compete with D, B, and A. If you are D, you have to compete with A, B, and C. If we get together C and D together, we have to only compete with A and B with the tagline, I am the market leader, because now it's 25% each, 25% from coming from each party, almost 50% or little less than 50%, or it can be even 50% plus due to synergies, right? So game theory actually explains why there are strategic alliances. So there's a dialog box. Requires you to be able to analyze game theory approaches in strategic planning and decision making. Key issues which game theory highlights is the need for organizations to consider the potential reaction of other organizations to their strategies. This is what I explained before. If I am doing strategic planning, I'm looking at the SWOT, PESTEL, and decide on certain strategic choices, then plan to implement this. I try to implement it, and then organizations react to it, right? What is the potential reaction that my competitors are going to make, and how this might affect the success of the strategy, right? For example, Facebook, there is a huge backlash that they are promoting violence through their platform, and some of the companies, they have decided so many advertising tools for potential advertisers, but now it has gone for a 6. Why? Some of the big brands are quitting Facebook in terms of Facebook advertisements. Facebook advertisements is actually one of the key or primary revenue streams for Facebook. So meaning how my customers are reacting for the chosen strategy. This point could be useful when evaluating strategies more generally, not just in relation to game theory. So let's be in conclusion to game theory. Please watch those clips. I will share those clips in the group chat line. We'll conclude with that, and we'll come to scenario planning. Shall we go for a quick 5 minutes break? And then we'll I'm not going to leave the call. I'm going to leave it as is. Let's reconvene the class in about exactly 5 minutes. It's 5:03 my time. Let's reconvene again at 5:08. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you're there, Anuja, no?
Yeah.
Gayatri, are you there? Okay, we'll start with scenario planning. Involves constructing possible views of how an organization's business environment might develop in the future based on key sets of drivers for change. So scenario planning, I will highlight this entire area, involves constructing possible views, constructing possible views of how an organization's business environment might develop in the future, how my business is going to develop in the future based on key sets of drivers for change. Allows an organization to model outcomes for its environment. Allows an organization to model outcomes for its environment. So it's not exactly predicting, but modeling. These scenarios are based upon changing assumptions around key drivers for change about which there is high level of uncertainty. So again, why scenario planning is required? Because there are drivers for change and also there is high level of uncertainty. Scenarios are not forecasts and predictions, right? Again, a key area. Not forecasts or predictions, but are plausible views of possible future conditions. Aim of scenario planning is to learn rather than predict the future. So learning is the primary motive, not predicting. Learning is the primary motive, not predicting. So organizations are often advised to produce multiple scenarios. For example, if the market expands, we'll come with an example, C&D, carbonated drinks industry, C&D coming together, what if, possible scenarios would be, what if our market position of combined 50%, individual 50, 25, 25, combined 50 will actually become a combined 40 or even less than 40. How can we do the build up? How can we do the build up? Right? What if I become 40% or 37%, and what if that 13% becomes the 13%, sorry, that what if that 13% that is subtracted out of me gets into the hands of A, and after a couple of months, what if B guys also join A, and now A is the biggest guy, who's the largest or who's the number one soft drink brand in the market. Another scenario, what if I put 25, C put 25, D put 25, both of us put 50. Now market has resonated with some sentiments and they are now, A and B guys are also joining me. So I'm actually not a 50% player, I'm almost a 60% player. A and B have further shrunk in terms of their market share, and now I'm at a 60% margin, 60% market leadership. I have, within next 1 year, I foresee I'm going to be the 70% guy. I'm going to be the 70%. Can I keep up with this pace? Can I expand my operations? Can I scale up my drinks manufacturing? Can I bring more variety? Because now new people are coming in. They will want new things from me. So it's how you come up with multiple scenarios to maximize the learning and contingency planning required. So I'm going to highlight maximize the learning and contingency planning required. So scenario planning, unlike forecasting, we are not planning or we are not predicting the future, but it is purely a learning exercise, but it will maximize our learning and contingency planning. Maximize our learning and contingency planning. Let's look at the process of scenario planning. 5-step model. Define the scope, time frame involved, products considered, markets considered, and the major stakeholders that drive change or affect the industry, right? Scenario planning. For example, if Coca-Cola or headquarters in US is doing a scenario planning, they will probably either they can select, okay, what are the products that are going to go in, whether it's going to be Coca-Cola or whether it's going to be Coca-Cola, Fanta, Portal, or everything, or whether it's going to be all the products, or whether it's going to be only Coke Zero, like that. What are the products? What are the markets? We are planning on Asia Pacific only right now. We are planning on North America. We are planning on South America. We are planning only on Europe, right? So meaning you're defining the scope, and the major stakeholders that drive change or affect the industry. Major stakeholders, for example, Coca-Cola's major stakeholders will be International Diabetic Association, a major stakeholder. Sporting bodies, European Union Football Association, because Coca-Cola is a primary sponsor in European Union football. International Cricket Council, Coca-Cola sponsors so many cricket countries, cricket playing nations, right? So who are those stakeholders? Number 2, identify key drivers for change and areas of uncertainty. Example, based on pestle factors. Number 3, construct initial scenarios based on key areas of uncertainty. Check scenarios for consistency and plausibility. So you need to check whether the scenarios are consistent, whether you are building consistent scenarios and those are plausible. Number 4, identify the implications that will impact each scenario and also have on the organization. What if International Diabetic Association tells Coca-Cola, reduce your sugar level and do not promote this Coke Zero because it's actually harmful for kids. You are putting so many chemicals into it. It's actually not good for the body, even though it doesn't have sugar, right? What are those implications? Last number 5, develop strategies or courses of action which could be adopted in different scenarios if they actually happen. What is your fallback plan? Do you have a set of guidelines that you need to follow? Because if actually International Diabetic Association comes and tells you to take off or move away from Coke Zero line of drinks, what are you going to do? What are you going to do for that product that you have already manufactured? What are you going to do for the investments, machinery, branding exercises, etc.? What are you going to do for it? Or how can you come out of it? How can you convert that Coke Zero or Sprite Zero into a different product using those raw material or ingredients in a less harmful manner? Because when it hits you, you will not have time to think. That is why scenario planning is important. When it hits you, you don't have time to think. You have to just react and react faster so that your damage that is made to the brand or the company is minimized. Organization should be in a position to identify indicators that could give an early warning where an event is going to happen. So what it says is when you are doing the scenario planning, organization should be in a position to identify indicators. In the Coca-Cola example, if International Diabetic Association is giving them warnings, having series of webinars, series of conferences, and they say certain carbonated drinks, and focus area is predominantly on Coca-Cola, and there is public unrest about Coca-Cola products, then it should give an early warning. It should give an early warning. There's going to be a sales slump, or there's going to be an image slump or corporate brand image slump, and you need to have certain strategies to act upon it. Benefits and uses of scenario planning. Very important. There's about 8 points here. Management are forced to look externally. If not, management will look at internally only. Now with scenario planning coming in, you are forced to look at externally. Future insights are provided, helping to shape strategy. Meaning, when you do scenario planning, you are anticipating some of the things. Can happen. Like for example, in the carbonated drinks industry example, what if market share becomes 40%, combined market share becomes 40%? How can you act? What if it becomes 50%? How are you going to act? Now, what is going to happen anyway? Market share is going to get impacted. First scenario in a negative manner, second scenario in a positive manner. Either way, it can throw you problems. Before it actually happens, you are thinking about those problems, and you can gain some insights. You can look at previous examples that has happened when mergers have taken place. Case studies are there online. What are the best practices that companies have adopted when they were merging? How have they dealt with it? All of these are insights that you can look into. Obviously, those information data are there in the website, but were you ever wanted to kind of go and read those material? No, because there was no scenario. But now there is a scenario. Now we want to do it. Organization as a whole becomes future oriented, because you are waiting. What if one of these scenarios takes place? What if is a considerable factor. What if this happens? Then you are always planning ahead for the future. Number 4, identification of key uncertainties allow better planning. You have more control over your financial resources. You will only spend for whatever that you want, because you know for a fact there are key uncertainties that are going to take place, right? And at the same time, when you are recruitment, you are at C limited, you just won't recruit, okay, my finance manager left, I want to recruit a finance manager, because now you know that merge is taking place. Hey, there is a person in D limited, obviously one guy, we don't need 2 finance managers, we can manage our work with that finance manager there, right? So something like that, you are planning it better. Fewer surprises will be encountered because you have already thought through about these things. Managers are encouraged to challenge their assumptions, because marketing manager will come up with one set of scenarios, and the supply chain manager will come and say, look, if you are to do this, these are the scenarios that will not complement your scenarios. Then they are challenging internally which is at the end of the day is going to be good to the organization, because then organizations are thinking towards more scenarios, thereby whatever that happens in the future, organization is ready. Compare current strengths and competencies to opportunities that prevail in the organization, meaning how ready is the organization. So with scenario planning, I will obviously take into account what are my current strengths, and I will obviously take into account what are my competitive advantages, competencies that I have, and I am now making sure whether if C and D is merging, how can my strengths be exploited, and how can I win the market to be at a 60% market leadership position. Even if it drops to 40%, how can I leverage on my strengths and then bring it back to 50 and thereby to 50 plus, and thereby becoming the leader, becoming the leader. With that, we are coming to foresight. Foresight in plain English terms, foresight means the ability to predict what will happen or be needed in the future, right? Ability to predict what will happen or what is required or needed in the future, right? That is the meaning of foresight. If there are employees or if there are CEOs, right, who are extremely futuristic, you call them foresightful CEOs, right? You call them foresightful CEOs, right? So let's look at what is foresight. Scenario planning is one of where management can get insights into the future and thereby prepare the organization to deal with opportunities and threats in the future. Organizations should be geared to change the business model that they currently operate in to ensure that organization is positioned to hold on to the competitive advantage against their competition. So I'm going to highlight position to hold on to competitive advantage. Foresight can be useful process for identifying possible ways the future could develop. It's called the art and science of anticipating future. Another key statement: foresight is different from forecasting. So forecasting and foresight are different. So foresight is not attempting to predict the future, Instead, it aims to identify range of possible outcomes, like for example in scenario planning, range of possible outcomes based on an understanding and analysis of current trends. Foresight encourages the idea that organizations try to shape their future rather than waiting them to happen. Meaning, foresight are trying and shaping their futures. Meaning, if I want to make sure that this organization should be navigated in the particular path, I will navigate it in that particular path. That is the underlying reason for this. Foresight encourages the idea that organizations themselves should make sure that where they are going, should have a clear vision in their head, vision in their mind to understand where are we going, right? For example, why did Facebook acquire WhatsApp and Instagram? Well, Facebook became popular started making money through advertisements, did not create content, became a media organization by someone else's content, right? All of a sudden a competitor emerged called Instagram, started sharing pictures, few features of Facebook, but predominantly onto the picture sharing or capturing the moments, right? You needed to have a smartphone to have Instagram, right? Facebook, you can even do it from your computer. So it was a different model, and Instagram was gaining a lot of traction from younger people than Facebook, because people thought, or younger people thought, Facebook was for old school guys. People just not do share a picture, they just go on and on and on in terms of conversations. It's just sick and tired. What nonsense is that? So Instagram was gaining traction. Facebook thought, look, this is going to kill me in my future, let me acquire it. Facebook came up with a different platform called Messenger to chat, had certain limitations, cannot chat with any Tom, Dick and Harry. He has to be a friend or something like that. Certain limitations were there at the beginning. And WhatsApp, as soon as you have a number saved, you can start chatting. Even if you don't have a number, if he sends you a message, you can start chatting, and it's very interactive. What did Facebook do? Went and acquired it again. Now Facebook wanted to be a platform orchestrator where he is in control of whatever that is content on content sharing, and saw possible threats from Instagram and WhatsApp, went and acquired it. Obviously they would have done scenario planning, not at the beginning of Instagram, but after, when they started gaining traction from a lot of people, right? Look at how Facebook has changed their game. To enable these, organizations need to improve their 5 things: communication, concentration, coordination, consensus, and commitment. Communication, providing a structure for groups to exchange ideas. Concentration on long-term outcomes. So for foresight to happen, organizations need to have a lot of concentration about what they are planning to do. That is why, because Facebook had this concentration of becoming the largest media platform, they went and acquired Instagram and WhatsApp, which were also poised to become largest, right? Large organizations. Saw the threat, went and acquired, because they are crystal clear in terms of their long-term outcomes. Number 3, coordination, enabling different groups to harmonize R&D activities. Number 4, consensus, agreeing future research priorities. Why? Because in the foresight, I'm coming up with different scenarios. Obviously all these scenarios are not crystal clear, not 100% data verified, data driven. Some of it is half-baked data. I'm also working with a lot of what ifs. If I want to make an informed decision, I need to do few more research on it, and then get into a comfortable level of decision making. For me to do that, I need to arrive consensus in terms of agreeing these are the things that we are planning to research on. These are not every possible outcome that I will go and research towards, but I will research towards certain particular agreed areas where I need more information to make decisions on. Last one, commitment for research and advanced technologies. If I am to make an investment on advanced technologies, if I want to learn about research, I need to have my commitment, because research output will not come within, like you started today and next week your research output is there. It will come after 3 months or 6 months or maybe after a couple of years. But for that model, I need to have that research commitment towards that, towards the research, because if not, I will be forcing the researchers to come up with an answer that is either favorable to me or either that is nice to have or a nice to listen factor, right? So same thing with advanced technologies. If I'm to invest in advanced technology, for example, a retail shop planning to invest in artificial intelligence, obviously the solution that they need is currently not available. They need to bank on a particular vendor and ask them to develop it. But for them to develop it, for the vendor to develop it, the organization must give the clear commitment towards it, that I am investing on it and I will definitely buy this advanced technology. With that, we'll come to techniques for foresight. So scenario planning, Delphi techniques are actually techniques for foresight, which we learned today prior to this section. So scenario planning, Delphi techniques are two techniques of foresight. How we can analyze our future possible outcomes, how with available information and we also with certain assumptions, how we can come to an informed situation or learn through experiences. Scenario planning and Delphi technique. Number 3 would be issue analysis. Number 3, there's altogether 6 techniques that we are talking about. Number 3 would be issue analysis. Issue analysis. Let's look at issue analysis. Potentially significant events are analyzed in terms of their likelihood and impact. This will result in developing an impact analysis matrix. Again, we are referring to the model that we learned today, importance and urgency matrix, and thereby helping managers to identify and prioritize the key risks. So I look at my issues, I look at the significant events, and I also look at what is the impact and likelihood, right? Now risk managers use this. They prepare a formal document called risk understanding statement or risk grid, and then they put certain scores for impact and likelihood, maybe on a range of 1 to 10. What is the impact if it happens? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, right? What is the impact to the organization if a tsunami comes in? What is the likelihood of this tsunami coming in? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Whatever the risk statement that has highest number, that is 10 into 10, 100, will require board attention. Right? So that's the statement. Obviously, current existing managers will not be in a position to make the decision for the organization. In that case, board will have to kind of intervene with the CEO and then derive certain strategies to overcome if that is going to happen, right? Certain issues will have, okay, impact is 10, but likelihood of happening is 2, so 10 into 2, 20. Not a great score. We will have an action plan ready for it, but we are not going to be much bothered about it right now. So that is called issue analysis. What we use here is that importance and urgency matrix, Aker and McLaughlin. Number 4, role playing. Number 4, role playing. Group of people are given a description of a hypothetical future situation. Very important. Hypothetical means theoretical future situation, and told to act as they think they would if that situation was actually happening. Analyzing the actions can give useful insights into what might happen if that hypothetical situation actually occurred. If that hypothetical situation actually occurred. Sorry. For example, an organization can have a situation where, okay, we have a lot of cash reserves, we are financially stable, we need to invest in something else. But CEO says, look, I have my senior team, chief marketing officer, chief financial officer, chief head of supply chain, chief HR officer. I don't want you guys to come up with ideas. I want my middle level managers to come up with ideas. Let's create hypothetical situations, right? Let's select 5 of them, the top performing 5, and let's give them a scenario. Let's give them the scenario in a closed work environment and we'll tell them that these are your resources, these are your project budget. What are you going to do? Give us an answer. You can take 3 hours, even if it exceeds, it's okay. Give us the best answer, but you can't take the whole day. Take the answers and analyze, right? How would they behave in a hypothetical scenario? And based on that, you can understand how you can analyze if that situation actually happens, how individual people will behave. Number 5, cross-impact analysis. Cross-impact analysis considers the interdependencies between different events, involves recording events on a matrix, and at each matrix intersection questioning what impact the event in the row occurring would have on the likelihood of the event in the column occurring. This way, this tool provides a more systematic way of examining range of possible events and outcomes. So in this case, considers interdependencies between different events. For example, what if C and D are merging, and B is expanding, and B needs more employees. Some of the guys from C and D who does not like C and D merging are going and joining company B. A hypothetical example, as company A, what are you going to do? C and D are merging, so technically C and D are going to be in a better place. 2 weeks down the merge, B has secured funding, going for an expansion. They need staff. Lot of people go and join company B. Right? A situation like that. Or C and D are merging. All of a sudden, Consumer Affairs Authority comes and says, C has been using illegal substance in their carbonated drinks. Now, who eats the bullet? Not only C, even D bites the bullet. bites the bullet, automatically A and B are having a favorable scenario, right? So cross impact analysis is that. Last one is morphological analysis. Morphological analysis. All the attributes of a product strategy are listed as product headings in a table, and many variation of each attribute as possible are listed in each column. As a result, a matrix of components are created. One entry from each column is then chosen to create a new mixture of components. This new mixture could represent a new product or a strategy. I have given an image on the next page, on page 7. Just try and figure out what the morphological analysis is going to be. So it's going to be, you are collecting attributes of a particular product, put it on the column headings in a table, and also have certain variations for each possible that are listed on the column. So if you look at the first one, vegetable picking device, there are multiple ways of picking it, multiple ways of picking the vegetables, multiple ways of picking the vegetables, meaning you're thereby figuring out, for example, if you have only option 1 as a product in the market, if you brainstorm this and come up with option 2, 3 and 4, then you can sell it to certain aspects in the market. For example, mechanical picker, you can produce it and sell it to a large scale vegetable growers. For tubular grabber, you can sell it to small scale guys. So likewise, if you're in the business of manufacturing agri products, in the business of manufacturing devices for agricultural purposes, you can come up with certain ideas within your mind and list it down in an Excel sheet or list it down in a sheet, discuss amongst your employees, discuss amongst your managers, and then actually come up with a new thought process, For example, if you take Sri Lankan brand, G-Flock, extremely good model of marketing, right? G-Flock in Sri Lanka, extremely good model of marketing, felt that, a lot of girls do come in, and girls do come in with guys, and guys do not have anything to do. Why not open a men's range as well? Why not open a men's range as well? I'm not saying it's a fairly an easy thing to do. You don't need to do morphological analysis, but there are companies that actually do this, specifically when it comes to software industry. You have range of possible solutions that you want to come up with, also in SaaS business model, SaaS, software as a subscription or software as a service model businesses, right, where you pay monthly and gain your access to the particular software, you will be having this morphological analysis going in. Number 7, visioning. Visioning requires an organization's management to develop a desired but achievable future state. A strategic plan is then developed for how to achieve that future state and goals related to it. So visioning requires an organization's management to develop desired but achievable future state. Desired but achievable. For example, Our business is a $200 million business. I am visioning it to be a 2 billion business within the next 5 years. Possible? Little bit unrealistic. Little bit unrealistic. Because you are going for a 10x growth. 10 times the growth you are planning within 5 years. Right? But you say, I'm $200 million business and I want to be in $400 million within the next 5 years. Considerably okay, because it's achievable. Key disadvantage of foresight is it relies on the future being shaped by actions that can be shaped now. So key weakness or disadvantage is we are thinking about the future shaped by actions that can be imagined now. Right? For example, over the period of time, if we'll say your grandparents were educated, parents were educated, then you're educated, or you're receiving education. If you have a kid, you want to educate the kid in the similar manner. Like, okay, he will get into the grade 5, I will make him do the scholarship exam and make him pass and do whatever. When he comes to grade 11, he will do the O levels. When it comes to grade 12 and 13, he will do A levels, and I'm planning to send him to university, maybe because I went to the university, or maybe because I couldn't go to the university. But what if we never decide on something like, what if the kid says in the future, hey, I don't want to go to the education system, I don't want this education system, I just want to create certain things on my own, please give me a room, let me be in my room, I will figure out on what to do. All these things that are taught in school, I can actually watch videos and learn from YouTube. Now it's a completely different paradigm. Or a kid will say, hey, look here, I know not a student of mine, a person who's like that, who straight away said, look, after O levels, I don't want to do A levels because it's a complete waste of time. I want to start to learn computer coding. Please enroll me. I will pass O levels. Please enroll me to a computer class. I want to know basics of computing, and whatever the school fees that you are planning to invest, please get me in, spend that money on a computer course, and then I will start learning a higher national diploma or something like that. I will start learning and I will get my software engineering degree, which he actually did. At the age of 18, he started working and funded his own degree, which is great because sometimes some of his friends who did A levels and did technology stream, and again they had to do the higher national diploma from the beginning. By that time he was completed, or just had to do the final exam. Just after the final exam, he was anyway getting employed. So he has at least 1 year additional work experience than his, or 1 year or 2 year additional work experience than his fellow classmates in school, right? So problem of foresight is relies on the future being shaped by actions that can be imagined now. We are imagining our kids will go like this, the education the same way that we went. But truthfully speaking, it might not be the case. Does not consider one-off event which could drastically change the business environment. For example, COVID-19, for example, East attacks last year. We don't know what will happen. All of a sudden, one event, it will go for a complete shift. All these years, some of the companies that were advocating, hey, look here, we cannot go for a work from home model, all of a sudden has been very innovative and have started to work from home So in that case, foresight does not consider events like that. You can have a great scenario planning. You can validate the scenario planning by Delphi scheme or Delphi method. You can come up with different ideas through morphological analysis. You can understand what are the issues and then apply them into urgency impact model, and then look at, okay, what is impacting me more, what is impacting me less, do everything. All of a sudden COVID-19 comes and hits you and you're out of the park. Right? So need to keep in mind, this is a key weakness. Therefore I'm going to highlight this: does not consider one-off events which could drastically change the business environment. With that, let's come to the last part of it: planning and digital strategy. Future planning and foresight. So planning and digital strategy, this will be connected to what we learned in lesson 3. Also will get in depth connected to lesson 11 and lesson 12, digital strategy and digital technologies, right? So this paragraph will have some relationship with lesson 3 and also on lesson 11 and lesson 12. Future planning and foresight exercises can help organizations determine not only who are the key players in a market currently, but where the key players will be in the future. So future planning and foresight exercises can help organizations determine not only who are the key players in the market, but where will they be in the future. For example, the carbonated drinks example. This could be useful for companies in the context of evaluating potential acquisitions and partnerships and or investments designed to develop their digital strategy. More will be discussed in lesson 11 or 12. We are talking in lesson 11 or 12, we are talking if you are a traditional organization and if you are not sure of how to go into the digital stream of doing business, what can you do? Can you invest in digital technologies, or do you have time to invest? Do you have the know-how to invest? You don't know anything about investments in digital strategy or digital startups. You don't know anything. Well, there are certain startups that are independent. You go and partner with them, or you go and buy them. You invest in their equity. You help them come into a strategic alliance or form into a strategic alliance, do something, and then make sure that you are part of that digital strategy or digital game that the world is embracing, right? Next para. Equally, it would be useful for companies to join the kinds of platforms that will underpin ecosystem development, as discussed in lesson 3. Future planning and foresight exercises will also help. Okay, I need to understand where am I as a business in the ecosystem. How can I bridge certain gaps that I have? How can I join a particular platform and make sure I'm being part of that ecosystem? I'm part of that ecosystem. However, the context of digital strategy and its disruption could also illustrate the potential limitations of foresight. Let's read that again. However, context of digital strategy and its disruption could also illustrate the potential limitations of foresight, meaning another limitation of foresight is, even though you do it, can be digital strategy and the disruption from it. For example, kiosks, they of course did have kiosks prior to the pandemic. Everyone was used to go to kiosks and buy stuff. They did have a website where you can order online, but not to a greater level scaled up. Not to a greater level scaled up. During the first few days of the lockdown, they struggled. After that, slowly got into the model where they could breathe, right? So meaning a digital strategy, if you are there, already available in digital strategy, for example, Keels could not tie up with Pygmy, but Satosa got tied up with Pygmy immediately. Satosa got the leverage of the situation than Pygmy. So look how things have changed. Satosa as a supermarket is horrible or hopeless. Keels as a supermarket is excellent, but during the lockdown, immediate tie-up with Pygmy gave them the leverage. To what extent were organizations able to foresee the disruption caused to markets by new digital entrants and technologies prior to the first digital entrants emerging? To what extent were organizations able to see disruption caused by markets' new digital entrants and technologies prior to the first digital entrants emerging? Meaning, to what extent, if I'm a traditional business or if I'm a business even with digital strategy, to what extent I was able to foresee the disruption. For example, if I'm 688, 588 traditional cab company, I never saw it pick me coming in. I never saw it pick me coming in and coming to a greater or making greater strides like this. I never saw Uber now coming in and eating to that market share, right? So how new digital entrants and technologies came in and caused disruption in the market prior to the first digital entrants emerging. So even before Pygmy came in, was I ever insightful to understand this is going to happen. 688, 588 operated their own cars or operated leased cars with their drivers. But Pygmy model was that no, anyone can drive. We don't own cars, we don't own anything. Anyone can join the platform and drive. Meaning a ride sharing platform. Now, even though there were certain companies or 688 or before I think not 688, before that there were certain companies that actually introduced and not exactly an app, but you can actually order a cab based on a website. But Pygmy came in, revolutionized the industry by introducing an app, and after that partnered with so many people. You come and join us and then do the deliveries, do the packaging deliveries. Now they have got into deliver small items as well. Maybe a t-shirt from a company to a customer. So companies are partnering with Pygmy to deliver their goods or provide their logistical solution. How insightful was I? Right? Again, a traditional supermarket or a traditional retail shop that sells clothing, I never thought of ordering things on digital. I wanted always people to come into my shop, order, and then go. Therefore, there was no need for a website. But now, I don't know at what point, again, the country will go for a lockdown. Let me put out a quick website, put my items there. People can order online. I purchase a payment gateway, and then how do I deliver? Through a Pygmy or a Uber motorbike, right? less cost, $100 or $150. Whoever who goes to that site, there is a package for him. So meaning what is the extent to which I was able as an organization to foresee and the disruption that has caused it, right? With that we are concluding the lesson for forecast and scenarios. In the page number 8, there is a question. I want you all to attempt it. And let's discuss the answer next week. It won't take much time, and the questions relating to lesson number 6 will be shared during the week. So with that, I'll conclude the class. Thank you.
Thank you.